Chapter 321 Mind-bewitching ant night had fallen. Xianxia sat cross-legged on her bed, her two giant ants resting below. In her hands, she held a plain leather pouch. It's strange. Father always carried this pouch with him, and it contains nothing but a shard of mirror, she murmured. After Lai Zhao's death, Lai Tang and the others were preoccupied with vying for the position of the clan leader, neglecting to care for Lai Zhao's remains. It was Xianxia who hastily arranged the burial before the body decomposed, and thus, the nondescript pouch ended up in her hands. At that moment, Lai Song's voice came from outside the door. Sister, is it really not possible to continue collecting money? Regretfully shaking her head, Xianxia replied, Second brother, I've already declared during the day that we will no longer accept external funds. But I am your second brother. Not even for second brother. Alright then. sarthenovelier.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As Lai Song's footsteps faded away, Xianxia massaged her temples and sighed. She knew she had woven a vast lie. To amass 100,000 silver ant crystals within 2 months was only achievable through deception, a scheme conceived suddenly one day after she had read numerous books. Yet, it had never been put into practice before, it was merely a fraud. Initially, only a small capital was needed to start the fraud, which could then generate more money, robbing Peter to pay Paul. However, over time, the debt would grow larger, ultimately reaching a sum she could not repay. This was precisely why she had decided to stop in time. The insect crystals I need to repay have now reached 600,000. If I continue in my greed, collecting more and more, even selling the entire fire ant tribe wouldn't cover it. Stopping now is the best decision. Not all of the 600,000 insect crystals necessarily need to be repaid. For example, if the flying sky ant tribe were destroyed, there would be no need to repay their crystals, she pondered. At that moment, another voice echoed outside, Sister. Have you gone to sleep? It was her younger brother, Lai Qing. No, I haven't. Come in, Xianxia replied with a smile, masking her thoughts. Lai Qing burst through the door, his face flushed with extreme excitement and his whole demeanor animated. He already knew. He was about to become the new clan leader. Lai Tang, Lai Song, and Lai Yuan had all withdrawn from the competition. From the elder to the fourth elder, all had declared their support for him to succeed as the clan leader. His ascension to the leadership of the fire ant tribe was now inevitable. Thank you, sister. Lai Qing exclaimed. Ever since I came to the fire ant tribe, I haven't done much, it has always been you working hard on my behalf. Lai Qing looked at Xianxia, whose brow now bore a few lines of worry, and his heart swelled with gratitude. Xianxia smiled and motioned for Lai Qing to sit beside her. Her hand gently stroked his head and brushed past his ear. A tiny black shadow swiftly entered his ear and vanished. Silly child, you are my own brother, if I don't help you, who will I help? Xianxia said with a smile. Helping you is only natural. Lai Qing was even more moved by her words. Xianxia's tone deepened as she whispered, Of course, it's also natural that you should listen to me in the future, isn't it? Lai Qing paused, his expression changing slowly. Yes, indeed it is. Go back now, get some early rest. Tomorrow, you will be the clan leader, Xianxia smiled. Thank you, sister, you are truly wonderful. Lai Qing, once again thrilled, turned and left. Watching his retreating figure, Xianxia's expression gradually sobered. The heart-eating ant is not very effective, it's easily detected by more advanced insect masters. The mind-bewitching ant is more useful, able to change a person's beliefs without their awareness. From now on, I might not be the clan leader, but I am more than one. Her face calm, Xianxia recalled how she had discovered the mind-bewitching ant. It was hidden in the cover of a book, a brilliant invention by a genius of the holy ant tribe, who, knowing its terrifying potential, dared not continue his research. Yet unwilling for his discovery to vanish, he hid it in the book cover, perhaps waiting for someone destined to find it. Who this genius was, Xianxia did not know. But she did know that the mind-bewitching ant was indeed terrifying, undetectable even to a platinum insect master. However, changing the beliefs of such a master was still too difficult. Otherwise, she wouldn't have needed to go through so much trouble to secure the position of clan leader for Qing. She could have just changed the beliefs of the clan leader of the Holy Ant tribe. Xianxia looked out at the pitch-black rocky dome through the window, her gaze resolute. "Grandfather, father, I will continue your legacy and elevate the fire ant tribe to a major tribe." Just then, the pouch vibrated unexpectedly. Startled, Xianxia pulled out the mirror shard inside. It was the only item in the pouch, and if it was vibrating, it had to be the shard. But how could it move? As Xianxia pondered, the shard suddenly displayed several lines of text. Orifice opening scripture obtained. Fire goo refinement method obtained. Great orifice opening scripture not obtained. Requires the holy ant cultivation method. Xianxia was astonished. The orifice opening scripture? Wasn't that the secret scripture her father had given her? Could it be that her father's secret scripture actually came from this mirror shard? She suddenly remembered that her grandfather, Liang, had only opened 2 insect orifices at the age of 15. Then, one day, he had suddenly opened a 3rd insect orifice, stepping into the ranks of the gold insect masters. Could it be that grandfather had obtained this mirror shard back then? Xianxia's eyes widened in realization. The orifice opening scripture can open an additional insect orifice, so could the great orifice opening scripture open yet another? Xianxia mused. What does it mean that it requires the complete holy ant cultivation method? After pondering for a moment, Xianxia wrote down everything she knew about the holy ant cultivation method on a piece of paper and placed it beside the mirror shard. The shard vibrated again, buzzing softly, and pushed the paper away. Words appeared on its surface: a complete holy ant cultivation method is required. Xianxia frowned. To obtain the complete method, she would either need to compel a platinum insect master to write down what he knew, or she would have to shatter the holy ant bronze statue to seize the crystal within. There's plenty of time ahead, I have ample time, Xianxia nodded to herself. She returned the mirror shard to the pouch and kept it close as she fell into a deep sleep. Chu Xian marveled quietly. His spiritual sense had grown significantly, enabling him to encompass the entirety of the fire ant tribe. He had been observing Xianxia's actions over these days, and her adeptness elicited his admiration. This woman is not simple. She possesses notable talent, excelling in resilience and wisdom. I hope you bring me surprises, Chu Xian nodded slightly. The following day, the fire ant tribe held a grand ceremony for the inauguration of the new clan leader. Li Zhao's 4th son, Qing, assumed the position, becoming the 37th clan leader of the fire ant tribe. Upon his inauguration, Qing immediately announced a series of measures concerning the tribe's trade, military, and laws. Additionally, he introduced high-quality seedlings and resources acquired from the Holy Ant tribe, including iron turtle, earth-carrying dragon, and bull fungus beetles, along with 100,000 silver ant crystals. The previously chaotic fire ant tribe quickly showed signs of thriving progress. However, unknown to all, the petite woman standing beside Qing, her face always wreathed in smiles, was the true orchestrator behind all these changes. Chapter 322, Too many corpse puppets can be a hassle plus, turn off reset. Chapter 322, Too many corpse puppets can be a hassle blue star. Chu Xian gazed at the cocooned blood queen bee before him, a look of satisfaction on his face. Success. The holy ant cultivation method he had obtained from Xianxia, although only covering the ranks from bronze to gold and not including platinum, was barely sufficient. After all, a gold-level demonic insect was roughly equivalent to a 3rd transformation goo. The blood queen bee had now reached the level of a 3rd transformation goo. It was the perfect candidate for enhancement using the holy ant cultivation method. Over these days, Chu Xian had his subordinates bring up numerous rare and precious natural resources, testing their medicinal properties one by one. Eventually, he selected a few materials and successfully evolved the bloodline of the blood queen bee. What kind of ancient exotic insect is the blood queen bee descended from, he pondered. It's unclear, but all signs point to some kind of bee. There aren't many bee species among the ancient exotic insects, only the netherworld bee and the fiery sun bee mother. Based on its traits, the blood queen bee is more suited to follow the path of the fiery sun bee mother. Chu Xian's expression was one of eager anticipation. 1 year later on Blue Star, the blood queen bee emerged from its cocoon. Its size had not changed significantly, but the patterns on its body had shifted from blood red to dark golden stripes. The temperature it radiated had also increased significantly. Seemingly influenced by the blood queen bee, its offspring, the worker bees, warrior bees, fire bees, and poison bees, all began to undergo transformations. The worker bees grew larger, converting flesh and blood into blood honey at a faster rate. The warrior bees doubled in size, their mandibles became sturdier, and their aggression increased. The fire bees flew faster, their flame sacs enlarged. The poison bees became more stealthy in flight, their venom sacs increased in capacity. The same was true for the other bee types. Once the blood queen bee was enhanced, they all followed suit. Chu Xian inspected them again and noted that the blood queen bee's rank had skyrocketed to the late stages of the third transformation. It was just a step away from the fourth transformation. Excellent. Once it becomes a fourth transformation gu, it can even contend with nascent soul cultivators. Chu Xian nodded repeatedly, his expression filled with contentment. Now, the fire ant tribe in the cave world, under Xian's control, was thriving splendidly. To eventually annex the holy ant tribe, they needed time to grow and strengthen. This period would definitely be one of laying low and avoiding major conflicts with the outside world. He didn't need to pay them much attention for the time being. With a single step, he returned to the heavenly infinite sect. Greetings, Sect Master. Good afternoon, Sect Master. Greetings, Great Sect Master. Wherever Chu Xian went, disciples immediately bowed respectfully, their expressions filled with awe. He was very pleased to see that the sect's training grounds and sparring platforms were bustling every day. The disciples were either busy cultivating or engaging in duels. As for those specializing in logistics, alchemists, formation masters, talisman masters, and artifact refiners, they were also fervently dedicated to their crafts, tirelessly producing day and night. Such a thriving scene pleased Chu Xian immensely. A healthy and proactive sect should be just like this. It would be a disservice to his hard work if they were lazy and slack. Sect Master. Have you come out of seclusion? Wei Ji, accompanied by a few disciples, hurried past and, upon noticing Chu Xian, quickly approached. Chu Xian smiled and nodded, just taking a leisurely look around. The disciples train so relentlessly, it gladdens my heart. As an elder, you must remind them to balance hard work with rest, for only then can they enjoy their cultivation. Wei Ji felt embarrassed. Balance hard work with rest? Unless the rule that those who fail in their cultivation are turned into soul spirits or body puppets is abolished, who would dare to take it easy? Though he thought this, Wei Ji dared not voice it out loud. He nodded repeatedly, yes, I will remind them. Where are you rushing off to, Elder Wei? Chu Xian asked with a smile. Wei Ji pointed towards the sinister mountain range to the west. I heard that Corpse Valley is overflowing with corpse puppets, and there has been another corpse transformation. I'm heading there to check on it. Also, a few disciples did not meet the cultivation standards again, so I'm taking them along to let them serve the sect in another form. Wei Ji sighed. When there are too many corpse puppets, some exceptionally violent ones tend to emerge. So having too many corpse puppets can indeed be a nuisance. Chu Xian nodded in agreement. Go then. Wei Ji and his disciples bowed and quickly disappeared into the horizon. Corpse Valley, Ghost Hollow, Worm Den, and Poison Peak, these were the 4 precious sites of the Heavenly Infinite Sect, corresponding respectively to corpse puppets, ghosts, goo insects, and poisons. Chu Xian wasn't particularly concerned about these places. Under the supervision of Xianxia, these 4 sites were thoroughly developed. With these sites, the Heavenly Infinite sect could maintain a virtuous cycle and continuous growth. Xianxia, well done. Chu Xian nodded in satisfaction. After a stroll around the sect, he returned to his cave dwelling. Heavenly Infinite Sect's Plaza. A blue streak of light cut across the sky, finally descending onto the plaza. Lu Ruoshui landed gracefully, followed by numerous Foundation establishment cultivators. These cultivators also landed and looked around in awe. Heavenly Infinite Sect truly has a magnificent atmosphere. Look at that qi, how pure it is. My heavens, if I were to cultivate here, my progress would be incredibly fast. Thank you, Elder Lu. Lu Ruoshui spoke calmly. Zichu, these people are yours to allocate. Ensure they are placed in the fields where they excel the most. Yes, Yuan Zichu replied respectfully. Lu Ruoshui continued expressionlessly, once you've completed this task, come to my cave. The path of talisman making is profound and vast, we must discuss it continuously until exhaustion to truly grasp the essence of talismans. Understood, Yuan Zichu smiled and nodded. Sar the Nelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It's rare that Elder Lu would condescend to discuss the path of talismans with a golden core cultivator. You don't know this, but a scholar does not concern themselves with rank. What harm is there in discussing talismans with someone less advanced? I've learned something today. Could I ask fellow Taoist Song to teach me the way of the Gu insects? 100 small spiritual stones per session, non-negotiable. You, really? Yuan Zichu called several Foundation establishment cultivators of the Heavenly Infinite sect over and arranged for paper and pen. Then he waved his hand, come one by one, register your names. Casually, Yuan Zichu instructed, name, age, cultivation level, spiritual root quality, spirit body, specialties. A brash-looking Foundation establishment cultivator stepped forward, Zhang San, 49 years old, Foundation establishment second level, mid-grade fire spiritual root, no spirit body, skilled in combat. Yuan Zichu waved his hand, average aptitude, go manage the sect's properties. Next. A humble and respectful Foundation establishment cultivator approached, Wuying, 39 years old, Foundation establishment first level, high-grade water spiritual root, no spirit body, skilled in corpse refining. Yuan Zichu nodded, good, go to Corpse Valley. Next. The Foundation establishment cultivators proceeded in an orderly fashion. An older cultivator with graying temples stepped forward, Song Junjia, 60 years old, Foundation establishment 9th level, mid-grade ice spiritual root, water ghost spirit body, skilled in Gu insects, corpse refining, ghost nurturing, and adept in combat. Chapter 323, 7th level of the Nascent Soul Stage Plus, Turn Off Reset. Yuan Zichu couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. He had some recollection of this man. It seemed he was a Foundation establishment cultivator from Black Dragon Mountain of the former 100 Refinement sect, a capable assistant under He Liang back in the day. It was surprising that he had managed to cultivate to the 9th level of Foundation establishment with a mid-grade spiritual root. It seemed he had stumbled upon quite a few fortunate opportunities. Moreover, he was proficient in so many skills. Not bad, you'll stay by my side, Yuan Zichu nodded slightly. Song Junjia nodded repeatedly, delighted. He thought to himself, Old Qian, I've finally made it to the Heavenly Infinite sect, too bad you died and couldn't see this. With my spiritual roots, it's unlikely I'll break through to the golden core in this lifetime. I might as well spend my days here in this great sect. Soon, the batch of Foundation establishment cultivators had all been registered. Yuan Zichu slapped his forehead, oh right, there's one more very important thing. You newcomers need to remember quite a few rules. But the most important is the sect's new rule. Come with me. Moments later, Yuan Zichu led them to a giant stele in the sect plaza. This stele was engraved with the new rules of the Heavenly Infinite sect. Take a good look, these are the sect's new rules. We do not harbor the idol at Heavenly Infinite sect. Yuan Zichu stated calmly. The Foundation establishment cultivators stepped forward one by one. They had thought they were securing a respectable future, only to find rules that made them feel like they had walked into a prison. Xianxia shuddered at these rules, the old fears of being dominated by a ruthless master resurfacing. Did I come to the wrong place? Is this not Heavenly Infinite Sect but Black Dragon Mountain? Or is everywhere just Black Dragon Mountain? Unable to hold back, one cultivator raised his hand. Elder, is it too late to leave now? Xianxia replied with a benign smile, if you want to leave now, you only have two options. The cultivator quickly asked, where? Xianxia's smile widened, turn left for Corpse Valley, turn right for Ghost Hollow. The cultivator paused, to be an overseer? Xianxia's smile became even warmer, to be material. The cultivator recoiled, I'm not going anywhere, the sect is my home, I love my home. Xianxia nodded in satisfaction, anyone else wants to leave? The cultivators shook their heads vigorously, as if their heads were on springs. Xianxia was even more pleased, I see, you all want to contribute to the sect, I'm very pleased. Disciples will soon take you to where you need to go. Always remember the sect's new rules. Xianxia, come with me. The group of Foundation establishment cultivators called out in unison, farewell, Uncle Master Yuan. Following Xianxia, Xianxia couldn't help but ask in a low voice after walking for a while, Uncle Master Yuan, do you remember Elder He Liang from Black Dragon Mountain? This narrative has been unlawfully taken from Royal Road. If you see it on Amazon, please report it. Xianxia nodded, I remember. It's because you were from Black Dragon Mountain of the 100 Refinement sect that I decided to give you a chance and keep you by my side, Xianxia explained. Xianxia nodded appreciatively and then asked, what happened to Elder He later? Xianxia sighed lightly, during the battle at Myriad Island Lake, fellow Daoist he was impersonated by a demonic cultivator. The two fought, and ultimately he fell into the lake and disappeared. To this day, there has been no word of him, and it's presumed he perished in that battle. Scratching his head, Xianxia mused, seeing these new rules of the sect, they remind me of the Black Dragon Mountain. Could it be that Elder He isn't dead and has come to Heavenly Infinite Sect? Xianxia's expression remained calm, it's best not to ask questions that shouldn't be asked, for both your sake and mine. Xianxia shivered, understood, thank you for the reminder, Uncle Master Yuan. Xianxia casually said, I will arrange your accommodation. You'll need to settle in by yourself as I must dive into studying the path of talismans with Elder Lu, I can't keep her waiting. Yes, thank you for your support, Uncle Master Yuan. Xianxia responded, nodding repeatedly. Reincarnation Divine Sect. Situkong received a Divine Sense Jade slip from his subordinate and pressed it to his forehead. After absorbing the information, his brows furrowed deeply. This Chu Xian, initially just a minor Foundation establishment cultivator from Heavenly Seal Sect, disappeared along with the destruction of the gate. When he reappeared, he had become a nascent soul late-stage cultivator capable of killing Zhao Kai. How is this possible? What about his golden core phase? Such a person can't be unknown. Situkong glared at his subordinate, who shrank back, Holy Son, we couldn't find any more information. A thought flashed in his mind, it's possible this person changed his identity and didn't act under the name Chu Xian. Sar the Oval Fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Situkong nodded, very likely. Have someone gather information on Golden Core cultivators from the same period. If we compare carefully, we will eventually find out what identity he used back then. Yes. I will take my leave. The subordinate hurried off to gather more information. Situkong tapped on the stone wall thoughtfully, relying solely on this channel isn't enough, I need to find another way to gather information. Mystic Azure Star, 3 years had swiftly passed. Meanwhile, Chu Xian had spent an equivalent of 30 years in cultivation on Blue Star. With the aid of a massive amount of Ice Soul, he finally advanced to the 7th level of the Nascent Soul stage. Now a late-stage Nascent Soul cultivator, he was also nearing the 37th level in physical cultivation. Chu Xian reached out his hand, and a chillingly cold ice pillar burst from the ground. This was the Ice God Pillar spell he had mastered earlier. Now that he had reached the 7th layer of the nascent soul stage, the ice pillars he could summon were significantly larger and sturdier than before. With just one pillar, he could annihilate a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. Explode. Chu Xian's tightly clenched fist suddenly opened, and the ice god pillar burst apart, transforming into hundreds of thousands of fist-sized ice shards, densely filling every inch of space. Condense. With another fierce grasp, Chu Xian's hand pulled the ice shards from all directions, merging them into airtight ice walls surrounding him. Hu, Long, Bao, come and spar. Chu Xian released the 3 corpse puppets from the heavenly corpse tower. Over time, Bao had also reached the realm of a corpse king. Now all 3 of his corpse puppets had become corpse kings. Master, I'm coming in. Hu roared with battle fervor. The 3 corpses attacked from different directions. Thinking it over, Chu Xian decided to also release the Dryland Earth Dragon. He diverted a portion of his spiritual sense to control the Dryland Earth Dragon as it assaulted the 4th ice wall. Boom, boom, boom. The relentless attacks from the 3 corpses and the dragon kept the ice walls trembling. Ice shards clattered to the ground. Spiritual chi surged wildly from within Chu Xian, continuously maintaining the ice walls from being shattered. After a quarter of an hour, signs of breaking finally appeared on the ice walls. Hu laughed loudly, Master, the ice wall is about to break, I'm coming in. Chu Xian chuckled softly and exhaled a breath of nascent soul essence. Instantly, the ice walls returned to their original state, now even thicker and colder than before. When Hu and Bao threw their punches, not only did they fail to breach the defense, but the rebounding force also sent them flying back a great distance. Looking down, they noticed that their arms were now coated in a thick layer of frost. Long, lacking intelligence, continued to mindlessly smash away. However, he was a corpse puppet, and his expertise was not in such brute force tactics. If even Hu and Dalong could not breach the ice wall's defenses, how could he? This extreme cold ice barrier is truly remarkable. Its defensive capabilities are astounding. Chu Xian nodded in satisfaction. This was the new spell he had mastered upon reaching the 7th level of the mysterious Heavenly Ice Soul Scroll. The Extreme Cold Ice Barrier. This spell, derived from the Ice God Pillar, often catches one's enemies off guard. In fact, the Ice God Pillar alone equates to 3 different spells. Chu Xian couldn't help but admire. The mysterious Heavenly Ice Soul Scroll truly was a treasured technique of the Reincarnation Divine Sect, capable of being practiced from the nascent soul stage to the deity transformation stage. It was indeed very effective. No other technique came with spells that had such versatile abilities. By my calculations, the heaven-shaking divine sect should be sending someone to collect pills and talismans soon, he pondered. A perfect opportunity to update and iterate the formations I have at hand. Also a chance to find out just how the current conflict between the heaven-shaking divine sect and the reincarnation divine sect is unfolding. Chu Xian thought deeply. Stepping forward, he returned to the heavenly infinite sect. Indeed, a few days later, a group arrived at Mystic Azure Star. However, they were not from the heaven-shaking divine sect. Exquisite Treasures Alliance? Chu Xian frowned as he watched the enormous flying ship on the horizon. He was familiar with this power. The Exquisite Treasures Alliance, originating from Treasure Star, was a 6th-level cultivation sect just like the Reincarnation Divine Sect and Heaven-Shaking Divine Sect. However, the structure of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance was more relaxed, and its members seldom engaged in combat. From top to bottom, the monks of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance enjoyed doing business, a trait seemingly ingrained in their very souls. Moreover, they preferred to appear in the territories of warring factions to peddle treasures. Chaos, for them, was an opportunity to amass great wealth. Many conflicts between powers escalated further because of the presence of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. Some powers coveted the Exquisite Treasures Alliance, aiming to plunder their caravans. Yet, these attempts invariably failed. A force that dared to trade treasures between warring parties was not one to be underestimated. Indeed, due to the formidable strength of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance, many sects could do nothing against them. The massive flying ship, its surface carved with giant pavilions, was a symbolic emblem of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. They were especially adept at constructing these star-crossing ships, large cargo capacity, strong defenses, and swift speeds. The Heavenly Infinite sect had inherited the legacy of the feather transformation Heaven Palace and possessed such a flying ship, capable of navigating the stars. However, in terms of size and speed, it was far inferior to this ship. Especially when it came to the range of travel, it could only manage a short journey from Mystic Azure Star to Blood River Star, incapable of venturing deeper into the vast expanse of the cosmos. Stolen novel, please report. Master, the Exquisite Treasures Alliance's caravan wishes to conduct trade on Mystic Azure Star, by Jing Kuan reported as he quickly approached Chu Xian. He presented a token with a gesture of respect. Chu Xian glanced down at it. The token was unmistakably that of a nascent soul cultivator from the heaven-shaking divine sect. The other party had not lied. Chu Xian's brow furrowed. Originally, he had not intended to allow the Exquisite Treasures Alliance's flying ship to dock at Mystic Azure Star, but with such a claim in hand, he had no choice but to grant permission. After all, he was nominally affiliated with the heaven-shaking divine sect. To stand by and do nothing while heaven-shaking divine sect's cultivators were harmed would tarnish the reputation of the Heavenly Infinite sect. Allow them to trade. Have them anchor their ship 3,000 miles outside the Heavenly Infinite sect, Chu Xian instructed. Tell the head of the caravan to wait for me in the main hall of the sect. As for the heaven-shaking divine sect's cultivators, see to their injuries. Oh, and also bring Elder Shan to the main hall. I want him there as well. Chu Xian spoke casually. Dealing with the sharp minds of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance required a similarly sharp mind in return. Understood, I'll go right away, Bai Jingkuan replied with a nod. Moments later, Chu Xian, dressed in formal attire, arrived at the Heavenly Infinite sect's main hall. As soon as he entered, he saw Xianxia engaged in lively conversation with a portly middle-aged man. Upon noticing Chu Xian's arrival, Xianxia immediately introduced, Master Jin, this is Chu Xian, the sect master of our Heavenly Infinite sect. Master Jin, giving Chu Xian a thorough once-over, clasped his hands and bowed slightly. I am Jin Dafu, the head of the Golden Dragon Caravan of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. It is an honor to meet Sect Master Chu. Chu Xian smiled and nodded. Ah, Master Jin. Please, have a seat. He took his place at the head of the hall before inquiring, what exactly happened? Could you please explain everything, Master Jin? Jin Dafu nodded. Not long ago, our Golden Dragon Caravan was conducting business near Blood River Star and Dawn Star. As we were heading toward Mystic Azure Star, we stumbled upon a severely damaged flying shuttle. Upon approaching to offer assistance, we discovered it belonged to a team of heaven-shaking divine sect cultivators, who were en route to Mystic Azure Star. Seeing that we were already on our way here, I thought it best to bring them along. Jin Dafu chuckled. Speaking of which, the last time I came to Mystic Azure, this place was still under the control of Feather Transformation Heaven Palace. Now, the flag has changed, and it has become the Heavenly Infinite sect. Chu Xian smiled. Sect forces will always decline, and dynasties are bound to change. Master Jin need not be so surprised. Jin Dafu nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, you are right. With a casual wave of his hand, Chu Xian signaled for tea to be served. Jin Dafu took a sip of the steaming tea and nodded slightly. A taste of bitterness with a hint of sweetness, this tea is rare indeed. Chu Xian smiled. I wonder, Master Jin, what treasures have you brought to my Heavenly Infinite sect this time? I've heard that the Exquisite Treasures Alliance excels in selling shoes to the barefoot and combs to the bald, he remarked with a grin. Jin Dafu laughed heartily. That is but a stereotype of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance in the outside world. True business is always built on mutual consent. With a grand wave of his hand, two lists appeared before both Chu Xian and Xianxia. Please take a look, gentlemen, Jin Dafu continued. This is our merchandise list. Should anything catch your interest, simply let me know. Furthermore, our Golden Dragon Caravan also offers a pre-order service. As long as the client can afford it, there is nothing our Golden Dragon Caravan cannot procure. Chu Xian scanned the list and immediately noticed something that caught his attention. Xianxia beside him also spotted the same item. The two of them exclaimed in unison, "The soul transformation secret method?" The soul transformation realm was a special stage that could only be cultivated after completing the nascent soul stage. However, it did not offer any direct increase in strength and required additional resources to practice. The soul transformation secret method was also exceedingly rare and costly. The sole benefit of cultivating this unique realm was an increased success rate when attempting to break through to the deity transformation stage. For this reason, only top-tier prodigies from major sects typically pursued this path. Sar the novelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Chapter 325, Effortful and Pretending, Acting Quite Convincingly plus, Turn Off Reset. Chu Xian had long been aware of the existence of the soul transformation realm. After he searched through Lung Hanchuang's soul, he had learned about it. Originally, if Lung Hanchuang had perfected her nascent soul stage, the reincarnation divine sect's out-of-body ancestor, Wen Ling Tian, would have granted her the soul transformation secret method. However, Lung Hanchuang had delivered her head to him instead. In Chu Xian's view, the nascent soul stage had always been divided into two realms. The first was the nascent soul realm, the stage where the nascent soul gradually grew stronger. The second was the soul transformation realm, the stage where the nascent soul began to transform. This served as a foundation for the eventual condensation of the soul into the primordial spirit. However, with the passage of time and the drastic changes in the world, many cultivators found that, in order to reach the nascent soul stage, they were already running out of their lifespan. How could they afford to expend more resources and lifespan to cultivate an additional realm, just for a slight increase in the success rate of breaking through to the deity transformation stage? To many nascent soul cultivators in the present day, even advancing to the mid or late stages of nascent soul was a far greater concern than attempting to break through to the deity transformation stage. Of course, others might reject the soul transformation secret method. But Chu Xian wanted it. For him, a success rate of 99% felt like no success at all. Since cultivating the soul transformation realm would increase his chances of breaking through to the deity transformation stage, it was only logical that he should pursue it. He could tell that Xianxia likely shared the same thought. Jin Dafu smiled slightly. Indeed, the soul transformation secret method is quite rare. This particular method of mine comes from an ancient cultivation cave in the extraterritorial battlefield. Compared to those from the reincarnation divine sect, the heaven-shaking divine sect, and our exquisite treasures alliance, this ancient method consumes more resources and has some detrimental effects on the heavens, but it's cheap. He raised 3 fingers. It only costs 3,000 Great Spirit Stones. CTHnovel_fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Chu Xian cursed inwardly, thinking the price was a highway robbery, but his expression remained calm. "I'm not buying, just inquiring." Xianxia nodded in agreement. "Same here." Jin Dafu chuckled and said no more. Aside from the soul transformation secret method, none of the other items caught Chu Xian's eye. However, at Xianxia's suggestion, he did purchase some materials for refining corpses, ghosts, puppets, and poisons, spanning from the qi refining stage to the golden core stage. He nearly forgot that, after all, he was still the sect master of a sect. "I've been so kind to my disciples, always thinking of them in times like this. They will surely cultivate diligently and repay the sect with their utmost loyalty," Chu Xian thought, a sense of satisfaction in his heart. Jin Dafu clasped his hands and bowed. "Esteemed sirs, would it be possible for my Golden Dragon Caravan to set up a temporary Myriad Treasures pavilion on your sect's plaza? Rest assured," he continued, "we will operate only during the day and will withdraw to the ship by night. We will never wander aimlessly around your sect. I, Jin Dafu, have been in business for many years and understand such basic etiquette," he added with a smile. Stolen from its original source, this story is not meant to be on Amazon. Report any sightings. Chu Xian and Shang Xingchen exchanged a glance and both nodded in agreement. Jin Dafu let out a sigh of relief. That's wonderful. Thank you both, I will take my leave. He quickly stood up, giving a slight bow before turning to leave, his face always bearing a warm and amiable smile. As the saying goes, one does not strike a smiling face. Jin Dafu was a master at that. Once Jin Dafu had departed, Chu Xian turned to Shang Xingchen. What's your take on this? Shang Xingchen replied calmly, 7 parts are lies, 3 parts are truth. As for which is true and which is false, I can't tell yet. Chu Xian nodded slightly. The sudden appearance of Jin Dafu's Golden Dragon caravan on Mystic Azure Star raised suspicions. As a seasoned individual, it was only natural to speculate on the motives behind each of their movements. Before Chu Xian could speak, Shang Xingchen added, rest assured, Sect Master. I will keep an eye on Jin Dafu. Chu Xian nodded with satisfaction. That's good. Let's go. It's time to meet that fellow Taoist Zhong Hui. Moments later, the two arrived at a side hall and met Zhong Hui from the heaven-shaking divine sect. His wounds had been treated, and he was now sitting cross-legged to recuperate. Upon seeing Chu Xian and Shang Xingchen, he immediately rose to his feet. Chu Xian waved his hand. Fellow Taoist Zhong, there's no need for such formalities. Tell us what happened. Zhong Hui gritted his teeth in anger. To be honest, I was ordered by my master to lead a group of cultivators and travel aboard a flying ship to Mystic Azure Star to collect pills and talismans. But just as we were about to reach Mystic Azure, we were ambushed by cultivators from the Reincarnation Divine Sect. Our ship was severely damaged, and nearly all of our cultivators were killed. We barely managed to survive by sacrificing the ship. We later encountered fellow Taoist Jin and his Golden Dragon caravan. They gave us a lift, and that's how we made it here to Mystic Azure Star. As Zhong Hui spoke, his eyes flashed with intense, almost tangible rage. I swear, I will skin those Reincarnation Divine Sect scoundrels alive and scatter their bones to the winds, he spat. Chu Xian and Shang Xingchen comforted him for a while before taking their leave. As they stepped out of the side hall, Chu Xian looked at Shang Xingchen. Shang Xingchen shook his head. He's trying really hard to pretend. Chu Xian chuckled. His acting is quite convincing. The two exchanged a knowing smile before turning to leave. Lying in front of them was no simple task, it required some real skill. Jin Dafu was a born merchant, truly an expert in the art of deception. His eyes, his expressions, there wasn't a hint of a flaw to be seen. Zhong Hui, on the other hand, was far less adept. He had a lot to learn about the craft of lying. Aboard the Golden Dragon caravan's flying ship, Jin Dafu watched the puppets below, lost in thought. On the ship, it was only him and 5 female Foundation establishment cultivators. All the other work was entirely handled by the puppets. This Chu Xian is not as ordinary as he appears, Jin Dafu mused. Money is not easily earned from Sidukong. He paced back and forth on the deck. Despite my indirect probing in the main hall, I haven't been able to ascertain this person's true strength. He's not the type to show off either, this is truly troublesome. Looks like I'll have to take direct action. Only by taking action can I see his real capabilities. Jin Dafu smiled faintly. Chu Xian was certainly on guard against him at first. There was no rush, waiting a few more days before acting would be fine. The puppets completed the temporary Myriad Treasures Pavilion within a day. The cultivators of Heavenly Infinite Sect immediately flocked to the pavilion, marveling at the vast array of treasures the Golden Dragon caravan had brought. The variety was staggering, enough to dazzle anyone. The items brought by the Golden Dragon caravan were all treasures that Mystic Azure Star had never seen before. Many of Heavenly Infinite Sect's cultivators began trading without hesitation. Day after day, the flow of people never ceased. The Golden Dragon caravan's cultivators were exceptionally disciplined. Jin Dafu, along with the 5 female cultivators, would appear at Myriad Treasure's pavilion every day at the early morning to oversee transactions. By the evening, they would return to the Golden Dragon's flying ship. They never arrived early, nor did they leave late. As the days passed, the cultivator's vigilance began to drop. That night, a shadow glided through the darkness, silently making its way toward Infinite Island. Carrying a token of the heaven-shaking divine sect, the figure passed through the island's array without obstruction. Moments later, two shadows met. The sparse moonlight briefly illuminated their faces. It was Jin Dafu and Zhong Hui. Jin Dafu inquired, "Have you secured the position?" Zhong Hui chuckled strangely. "Don't worry. I've arranged to meet Chu Xian by the Flying Fish Lake. He didn't see through my disguise and believed every word I'd said. This Chu Xian, even if he is strong, is no more than the 6th layer of nascent soul. With both of us attacking together, he'll be no match for us." Jin Dafu spoke calmly, "Don't underestimate him. This person is quite elusive. Not only did he hide his strength well, but he even managed to kill Zhao Kai from Feather Transformation Heaven Palace. He must have some hidden trump cards." Zhong Hui sneered, "Zhao Kai was just a nascent soul 6th layer cultivator from a 5th-tier sect. How could he possibly compare to us? Both of us are nascent soul 6th layer cultivators from a 6th-tier sect of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. Even if he was in the same realm, how could a cultivator from a 5th-tier sect compare to one from a 6th-tier sect?" Jin Dafu's brow furrowed slightly at Zhong Hui's dismissive tone. The Exquisite Treasures Alliance was internally divided into several factions, but broadly speaking, it could be split into two major groups. One faction was the merchant faction, like Jin Dafu's. They had made their fortune through trade, and wherever there were opportunities to seize vast amounts of wealth, they would dive in. The other faction was the territorial faction. At first, the merchant faction had hired cultivators to guard them with large sums of money. Over time, the territorial faction integrated into the Exquisite Treasures Alliance and gained considerable influence. The main goal of the territorial faction was to expand the territory of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance, occupying more cultivation planets. Zhong Hui originally belonged to the territorial faction. However, after violating certain rules, he was forced to flee. Jin Dafu, having known Zhong Hui for a long time, had taken him in. Jin Dafu had always known Zhong Hui's arrogant and haughty nature, so he didn't mind it much. Zhong Hui looked down on Chu Xian, but Jin Dafu thought highly of him. Anyone who could surprise Situ Kong and be worth the expense of having his strength investigated would not be a person with an empty reputation. A moment later, by Flying Fish Lake. It was deep into the night, and the lake was completely quiet. Most of the flying fish had settled to the bottom of the lake to sleep. Only a lone figure stood quietly by the lake's edge. Zhong Hui walked briskly toward him. "Sect leader, you are punctual." Chu Xian turned around, his voice deep, "Is what you said true? The ones who attacked you were from the Heavenly Blood Alliance?" Zhong Hui lowered his voice, "Indeed. Now that I think back, although those people donned the robes of the Reincarnation sect and used other spells, they still couldn't hide the bloodstained scent that clung to their robes. The Heavenly Blood Alliance was sent by the Divine Sect to the battlefield, suffering heavy casualties. They likely hold a deep grudge against the Divine Sect. With the Heavenly Blood Alliance stationed on Mystic Azure, I was afraid of alarming them, so I invited you here tonight in secret." Chu Xian furrowed his brows deeply. "I didn't expect it to be the Heavenly Blood Alliance's handiwork." Zhong Hui whispered, "Please, Sect Leader Chu, contact the Divine Sect directly and ask them to send someone to rescue me. If not, the Heavenly Blood Alliance will surely kill me to silence me." Chu Xian nodded thoughtfully, "Yes, they will definitely try to kill you to silence you. This novel's true home is a different platform. Support the author by finding it there." As the words fell from his lips, an invisible divine sense giant hand suddenly struck into Zhong Hui's sea of consciousness. Zhong Hui let out a muffled groan, and blood immediately started flowing from his nostrils. He instinctively retreated rapidly. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. "Impressive. Your spirit sense is quite strong to be able to withstand my sky-tearing cold palm. Had it been anyone else, this attack would have been enough to severely damage their soul, freezing them in place for a long while. In that time, Chu Xian could have easily killed them. This Zhong Hui truly had some strength. Zhong Hui staggered back a few steps before crashing into a thick wall with a loud bang. He froze in place. Where were the walls by Flying Fish Lake? Instinctively, he activated his defensive magic treasure. In an instant, his body was enveloped by radiant golden armor, fusing onto him with lightning speed. The moment the armor completed its formation, two massive hands like iron pincers slammed down from either side. They gripped his arms tightly and wrenched them apart with tremendous force. Zhong Hui was both shocked and enraged. Such immense power. He let out a furious roar, unleashing a burst of golden sword light that shot backward with overwhelming force. A muffled grunt echoed from behind. The two hands gripping his arms finally released their hold. Zhong Hui quickly turned around, taking advantage of the light to look behind him. There, he saw an imposing and mighty corpse king standing tall. Ah, so you figured it out long ago. Zhong Hui wiped away the blood from his nose and glared fiercely at Chu Xian. He growled, Jin Dafu, come out. We'll kill this bastard together. Chu Xian smiled faintly, he won't be able to help you. Zhong Hui spun around to look. Not far away, a battle was indeed breaking out. The two figures were none other than Jin Dafu and Shang Xingchen. Zhong Hui's face darkened further. The other side had been prepared. Was this battle even winnable? But soon, his expression turned cold. Whether or not they could win would depend on whether they fought or not. This was the heavenly infinite sect's territory. To survive, he had to end this fight quickly and escape. It was a do-or-die situation now, a fight to the death. Chu Xian smiled slightly, don't worry, I've set up soundproof and light-blocking formations around Flying Fish Lake. Everything happening here is invisible to the outside world. He raised his hand and squeezed it sharply. Zhong Hui instantly felt an overwhelming threat, though he couldn't pinpoint its origin. Boom! In the next instant, a massive ice pillar shot up from the ground. Even though Zhong Hui reacted quickly, the ice pillar struck him with tremendous force. Explode! Chu Xian's voice dropped coldly. The ice pillar shattered with a tremendous explosion, turning into countless shards of ice that surged toward Zhong Hui, threatening to envelop him entirely. Zhong Hui's brow furrowed. He had traveled far and wide, encountering many techniques from the Wheel of Reincarnation and the shocking Heaven sect, so he instantly recognized the technique, mysterious heavenly ice soul scroll. Where had Chu Xian learned this technique? However, in the critical moment of the fight, Zhong Hui had no time to think further. He immediately drew out a flaming fan, its flames roaring with intensity. He swung the fan with great force. The blazing flames shot out, swiftly melting the ice shards around him. cthnelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The steam billowed up. But to Zhong Hui's surprise, the flames only melted a few yards worth of ice shards around him. The farther ice shards remained frozen solid, showing no signs of melting at all. So cold. Zhong Hui looked around, his face turning grim as he saw that the entire area around Flying Fish Lake was shrouded in an unnatural chill. The lake's surface had already started to freeze over. When had this much coldness spread? There was no doubt about it, his opponent had quietly activated another magic treasure. Zhong Hui had guessed correctly. Just out of his view, the Frost bottle was releasing a heavy, sinister cold mist, filling the area with a bitterly cold aura. Within this range, all ice-based techniques and magic treasures would be enhanced. Damn it. Zhong Hui cursed inwardly and immediately threw out two nascent soul-level talismans, Sun-Fire talismans. Sun-Fire was the fire of the sun, symbolizing intensity, heat, and explosion. It was the perfect choice to clear away the ice shards surrounding him. Zhong Hui knew that staying within the ice shards would only lead to his downfall. He had to break free if he wanted any chance of turning the tide. Boom, boom, boom. The sun-fire talismans exploded with violent flames, filling the air with a sea of fire. The ice shards were rapidly melted, creating a narrow path. Zhonghui didn't hesitate. He stepped lightly into the air and immediately consumed his nascent soul essence, activating his teleportation technique to disappear in a flash. Chapter 327, You Dare to Kill the Holy Sun Plus, Turn Off Reset. Chu Xian saw Zhonghui's attempt to flee and immediately consumed more nascent soul essence to pursue. At the same time, he made a subtle gesture with his mind. 2 icy sun crossbows immediately began to charge up with energy. Zhonghui, grinning inwardly, thought, just as I expected. Now we're going to fight at close range. With a fierce growl, his blood essence surged, and his muscles bulged as unimaginable strength roared within him, like a raging dragon. His right hand, which had been concealed in his sleeve, coiled tightly, gathering force for the strike. The moment Chu Xian entered his range, Zhonghui's fist shot forward with a violent burst. cthnovelier.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Spirit Slayer hand. He slammed his palm forward. Even the air itself seemed to buckle under the tremendous pressure, creaking loudly. Chu Xian chuckled lightly, not running, but coming at me instead? He raised an eyebrow, his expression amused. Seems like you have confidence in your physical strength. Funny, he continued. So do I. In an instant, his right fist shot up, muscles swelling with power as his veins bulged like dragons. His entire body seemed to crackle with energy as he unleashed a mighty blow. Great Extinguishing Thunder Fist. The two forces collided with a tremendous explosion. The sound of cracking echoed through the night. Zhonghui's right arm shattered like fragile tofu under the immense force. The spiritual power from the punch continued to surge, slamming into his shoulder with catastrophic impact. Boom! His shoulder exploded in a shower of blood, bones, and flesh. Before Zhonghui could even register the pain, 2 beams of chilling light shot from the icy sun crossbows, piercing into his chest. He let out a blood-curdling scream, plummeting toward the lake's surface. But before he could crash into the water, a shadow appeared and caught him in midair. The shadow quickly consumed the dismembered limbs and fragments of his body as it hovered above. The faint light of the moon illuminated a grotesque yet satisfied smile. It was Bao. He held Zhonghui by the neck, dragging him in front of Chu Xian. At that moment, Zhonghui's gaze was filled with fear, as if looking upon a demon from hell. This man was terrifying. Not only was his chi cultivation realm above his own, but his body cultivation was also far superior. And the worst part? He cultivated both chi and body at the same time, and was equally strong in both fields. Zhonghui cursed inwardly, I've never encountered someone who's equally strong in both chi and body cultivation. If I'd known this, I would never have accepted this mission. Chu Xian casually tossed Zhonghui into Blue Star, instructing Bao to guard him. Turning his attention to the ongoing battle between Xianxia and Jin Dafu, he saw that Xianxia had clearly hidden his true strength. He was suppressing Jin Dafu throughout the fight. It seemed that, even without Chu Xian's intervention, it was only a matter of time before Jin Dafu would be captured. Once Chu Xian finished his battle, both Xianxia and Jin Dafu took note. They were both visibly shocked. This story has been stolen from Royal Road. If you read it on Amazon, please report it. Xianxia was surprised at how many diverse methods Chu Xian had at his disposal. Jin Dafu, on the other hand, was more observant. He immediately noticed the chilling aura that had pervaded the flying fish lake. Frost bottle. It's the Frost bottle. Jin Dafu realized. He had a deep memory of this item, because it was Leng Hanshuang who had asked him to purchase the precious magic treasure. At that moment, everything clicked for him. No wonder Sidukong had told him that Chu Xian had never experienced the Golden Core stage. This person must have assumed a false identity when going to the extraterritorial battlefield, and it was there that he killed Leng Hanshuang. The entire picture came together in Jin Dafu's mind. I need to immediately report this to Sidukong. With a furious shout, he threw out a puppet. This puppet was far larger than the previous one, its height easily surpassed 2 zhang. Xianxia's eyes sharpened. He struck out, his massive ghostly hand wielding a giant sword to strike. However, all he managed was a shallow dent on the puppet's surface. The blade didn't even break through its defense. To his surprise, within the blink of an eye, the dent had already healed. Xianxia's expression stiffened. This is the giant rock puppet. No wonder Jin Dafu dared to make a move, he had brought this treasure with him. The giant rock puppet was one of Exquisite Treasures Alliance's most renowned creations. It was a giant, with almost impenetrable defenses. Due to the special materials used in its construction, it was especially resistant to spiritual chi-based attacks. Even deity transformation cultivators struggled against it. It wasn't that it couldn't be destroyed, but it was incredibly difficult to deal with. The only type of cultivator who could deal with the giant rock puppet effectively was a body cultivator. If hundreds of these giant puppets appeared at once, they would easily be able to crush a 5th-tier cultivation sect. Taking advantage of the moment when Xianxia was occupied by the giant rock puppet, Jin Dafu immediately consumed Nascent soul essence to escape. He also pulled out a sound transmission jade, hoping to send a message while he still had the chance. Seeing this action, Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. He figured that Jin Dafu must have realized something, which was why he was so eager to send the message without hesitation. Stop him! Chu Xian commanded decisively. Without hesitation, Chu Xian activated his instantaneous movement. Having absorbed the heavenly Tao Golden Lotus, his nascent soul allowed him to cover distances far beyond that of cultivators of the same level. In the blink of an eye, he closed the gap, appearing less than 20 zhang from Jin Dafu. Jin Dafu's eyes nearly bulged out in frustration. So fast. He was unable to send the message in time. Chu Xian, you dare to kill the holy son of the reincarnation divine sect, this news will bring about great calamity for you. Jin Dafu yelled in desperation. Spare me, and I will swear a heart demon oath to never reveal this to anyone. Xianxia, hearing this, raised an eyebrow. Chu Xian sneered. This person is just stalling for time. Die. Chu Xian declared, his hand snapping into a fist. Jin Dafu thought the ice god pillar would appear again and immediately summoned a massive shield to block underneath him. However, the ice god pillar did not materialize. Instead, a pitch-black chain shot out of the night, its speed almost impossible to track. Jin Dafu felt a sudden, agonizing pain as both his body and soul were lashed by the chain. It was a sensation of intense agony, as though his very essence was being torn apart. Ah, he screamed in pain as his body was flung toward the lake below. Chu Xian watched as Jin Dafu plummeted toward the lake but made no move to pursue. Instead, he shot forward into the dark night. He had noticed that although the evil soul chain had struck Jin Dafu, it had not absorbed any blood. Thump! Jin Dafu crashed onto the lake's surface. But upon landing, he transformed into a puppet that vaguely resembled him. The puppet was already riddled with countless tiny wounds, clearly rendered unusable. The real Jin Dafu had escaped into the night. However, Chu Xian was relentless. In the blink of an eye, he was already on Jin Dafu's heels. Seeing Chu Xian close the distance, Jin Dafu's heart sank, and terror gripped him. His soul felt as though it had been frozen by fear. You found out, he screamed in desperation. There was no time to waste. Without hesitation, he began tossing out puppets from his storage ring, human puppets, wolf puppets, bird puppets. He even threw out self-destructive puppets, mining puppets, farming puppets, and others, hoping to stall Chu Xian for even a moment. Jin Dafu even considered throwing out the 5 female cultivators from the ship, hoping to use them as distractions. But he had grossly underestimated Chu Xian's strength. Without even attempting to defend himself, Chu Xian barreled through the incoming puppets. The moment they collided with him, they shattered into pieces, whether they were made of steel, wood, or stone. Got you! Chu Xian sneered. His hand shot out, grabbing the evil soul chain, which lashed forward like a black serpent, wrapping tightly around Jin Dafu's body. With a swift motion, Chu Xian moved in and slammed a soul-binding seal onto Jin Dafu's forehead. This seal was specifically designed to restrict a nascent soul's powers, preventing even the possibility of self-detonation. With this, Jin Dafu was rendered completely helpless. As Xianxia flew closer to Chu Xian, he smiled and said, "Sect Master, your strength is indeed unfathomable. You easily defeated Zhong Hui, and now you have captured Jin Dafu alive." Chu Xian chuckled, "Elder Shang, you too remain hidden beneath the surface. That massive puppet, didn't you easily subdue it?" He had long noticed that Xianxia had already tamed the giant rock puppet. It now obediently followed him, though it was unclear what secret methods he had employed. However, once they returned, Xianxia would undoubtedly need to refine it further before it could truly be his. Before Xianxia could respond, Chu Xian continued, "Since Elder Shang has acquired this puppet, I shall take the soul transformation secret technique." Xianxia opened his mouth, but no words came out. Indeed it should be. Having already secured the giant rock puppet, it would be improper for him to ask for the soul transformation secret technique. Xianxia smiled and said, "If the sect master is ever willing to sell the soul transformation secret technique, please do remember me." Chu Xian waved his hand, "Rest assured, I will remember to make a profit from you." Xianxia was momentarily stunned, then burst into laughter. "The sect master truly is straightforward." Chu Xian nodded, "Indeed, I've never lied in my life. I've always been too blunt." Xianxia chuckled and pointed to the sky. "Every airship of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance has a positioning array. They will use every method available to retrieve their airships. How should we deal with this golden dragon ship?" Chu Xian countered, "What do you think, Elder Shang?" Xianxia thought for a moment. The Divine Sect will certainly be interested in the airships of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. However, if word of this gets out, the Exquisite Treasures Alliance will undoubtedly hold a grudge against our Heavenly Infinite Sect. I think we should treat it as though Jin Dafu has simply vanished. As long as he doesn't die on Mystic Azure Star, it will have nothing to do with us." Chu Xian nodded, "That works perfectly." "Sect Master, do you have a plan?" Xianxia asked in confusion. Chu Xian replied, "I do." Xianxia didn't ask further. He cupped his hands and said, "I take my leave, Sect Master." After speaking, he turned and left, taking the giant rock puppet with him. Chu Xian waved his hand, summoning the corpse puppets to clean up the battlefield. Then he made his way to the Golden Dragon airship. On the airship, there were only 5 female cultivators at the Foundation establishment stage. These 5 women were of varying builds, some delicate, others plump, each with their own charm. However, despite their Foundation establishment cultivation, they were utterly powerless. The reason was simple: they were mere concubines kept by Jin Dafu. Since leaving behind any evidence for the Exquisite Treasures Alliance was unacceptable, these women could not be spared. Without hesitation, Chu Xian cast them into the Heavenly Corpse Tower. The Golden Dragon ship is quite large. I wonder if it will fit through the mirror. If you discover this narrative on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the violation. Chu Xian estimated the size of the airship, realizing it was at least 10 zhang long and 3 zhang wide. Given the vast size of the ship and the smallness of the mirror, would it fit? He gave it a try, focusing his mind. Aha! It worked, it truly fit. Though the mirror appeared small, it could adjust its size based on the objects placed within it. Once the Golden Dragon ship was fully inside, Chu Xian suddenly felt a wave of dizziness. He almost lost his balance and fell from the sky. He hurriedly inspected himself. Xianxia the Oval Fire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. To his astonishment, his spiritual sea had been drained. Many of the great spirit stones and medium spiritual stones in his storage bag had also been absorbed. Even a third of his nascent soul essence had been depleted. So that's how it is, Chu Xian muttered to himself. The numerous formations engraved on the Golden Dragon ship, combined with the expensive and heavy materials used to craft the ship, must be the cause. It's precisely because of this that moving the Golden Dragon ship through the mirror to throw it onto Blue Star consumed so much of my spiritual chi. It even depleted my spirit stones and nascent soul essence. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The more energy contained within an object, the greater the consumption required to pass it through the mirror of all heavens. This made perfect sense. No wonder, whenever a cultivator was sent to Blue Star, their spiritual chi was drained so thoroughly. It turned out, the mirror was the one doing the draining. This mirror had quite a bit of intelligence. Initially, he had thought that anything could be thrown into Blue Star. Now, it seemed that if one were too greedy, trying to force things beyond their own capability into it, a dreadful backlash might occur. At first, it absorbed spiritual chi. When that wasn't enough, it began drawing on nascent soul essence. What would it drain next? His soul? His vitality? Chu Xian didn't dwell on the thought further. This had served as a wake-up call for him. From now on, he would need to carefully assess before attempting to throw anything into Blue Star. Otherwise, the backlash, perhaps even death, could prove disastrous. Such an outcome would be a disgrace to a traverser. After cleaning up the battlefield and ensuring that no traces were left by the shores of Flying Fish Lake, Chu Xian returned to Blue Star. The Golden Dragon ship was casually placed on a flat piece of land. After sending a few corpse puppets to guard it, he temporarily left it alone. He first approached Zhong Hui, performing a soul search technique. Then, he moved to stand before Jin Dafu, where he conducted the same technique, his actions undisturbed by the despair in the latter's eyes. After thoroughly searching through their minds, Chu Xian finally opened his eyes. So it was Holy Sun Situkong, he muttered. Is this how far you would go to obtain my information? He sneered coldly. The last time, the Orthodox alliance secretly formed by traitors, such as Lu Ren, was also instigated by Situkong. As long as this person remained, future trouble would be inevitable. The soul transformation secret technique. Chu Xian rummaged through Jin Dafu's storage bag for quite some time, finally finding a jade slip inscribed with divine consciousness. Upon closer inspection, he saw the words three-phase soul transformation secret technique engraved boldly. He placed the jade slip against his forehead, and countless pieces of written information flooded into his mind. After a while, he massaged his temples, deep in thought. This soul transformation secret technique was indeed an ancient method. It originated from the Golden Age, a time rich in precious herbs and abundant spiritual chi. During that era, almost all ancient cultivators practiced the soul transformation stage. This particular three-phase soul transformation secret technique was no different. However, the practitioner's nascent soul was unusually small, which would make it impossible for him to successfully undergo deity transformation. Thus, he took an unconventional path. He spent 200 years of his life on this technique, eventually creating the three-phase soul transformation secret technique. This technique required a special parasite called the ghost shadow worm, which would voluntarily parasitize the nascent soul. The ghost shadow worm fed on shadows. Once it consumed enough, it would enter a cocoon-like stage and undergo a metamorphosis, going through 3 stages of development. It was precisely because of the ghost shadow worm's unique nature that a parasitized nascent soul could undergo a transformation, significantly increasing the chances of successfully entering the deity transformation stage. Once the cultivator reached deity transformation, this ancient practitioner claimed he could devour the ghost shadow worm. By doing so, the hidden risk of being parasitized would disappear, and the nascent soul would be strengthened further. However, to ensure the ghost shadow worm kept feeding and evolving, this cultivator had no choice but to kill countless mortals. The accumulated karma from these actions had become so immense that the tribulation during deity transformation would be particularly terrifying. From the last words left in the jade slip, it seemed that this ancient cultivator had never survived the deity transformation tribulation. But for Chu Xian, this was hardly an obstacle. Shadows? Weren't there plenty of them with the zombies? Chapter 329, We and the Exquisite Treasures Alliance shall be irreconcilable. Plus, turn off reset. The only real difficulty lay in finding the ghost shadow worm. In that golden age, it might have been easy to find such creatures. But now, Chu Xian was deeply concerned whether these bloodthirsty, parasitic creatures still existed. Even if they did, they were likely only the descendants of the original ghost shadow worms, with only a trace of their bloodline remaining. However, it doesn't matter if they are the descendants of the ghost shadow worm. Now that I possess the holy ant cultivation method, I may be able to find a way to return the ghost shadow worms to their ancestral state, Chu Xian mused with a smile. As long as one's thoughts remained clear, solutions were always more abundant than difficulties. He continued to check through the storage bags of Jin Dafu and Zhong Hui. Both had numerous magic treasures, but their quality was rather mundane and did not suit him. While he could not use them, they could be traded with Elder Xianxia, Wei Ji, and others. However, Jin Dafu did have over 100 large spirit stones, and the number of medium spiritual stones was even greater, over 10,000. Combined with the large inventory of goods in the hold of the Golden Dragon ship, Chu Xian deduced that the Golden Dragon merchant fleet, under Jin Dafu's command, likely hadn't originally aimed for Mystic Azure Star. It was only due to the heavy monetary commission from Situ Kong that their course had been altered, leading them to Mystic Azure Star. The three-phase soul transformation secret technique had clearly been intended for another client. Jin Dafu never imagined that he would fall here, and it was only by coincidence that the technique fell into his hands. Not bad, not bad. This time, it's quite a harvest. Chu Xian nodded in satisfaction. The next day, at dawn, Song Junjie woke up early. He had no choice but to rise early, he had to train relentlessly. The consequence of neglecting his training was a grim fate, a trip to the corpses valley to the left, or the ghosts cave to the right. Huh? Where did the ship in the sky go? He suddenly noticed something was off. For the past few days, the Golden Dragon ship, resplendent and grand, had been hovering in the sky. The disciples of the Heavenly Infinite sect had grown used to its presence. However, today, it was completely gone without a trace. Other disciples also noticed this strange occurrence. Even the Myriad Treasures pavilion hasn't been moved, but the ship is gone. Could something have happened? Ha ha ha, could it be that they are afraid of us, the Heavenly Infinite sect? Well, it's not entirely impossible. The disciples began to chatter, all curious as to why the ship had suddenly disappeared. Whoosh! Whoosh! A fierce gust of wind swept by. Chu Xian and Xianxia appeared together. Both of them gazed at the empty sky, equally stunned. Xianxia furrowed his brow. Did Jin Dafu and the others flee overnight? Chu Xian sighed deeply. Damn merchants. Damn merchants. I invested over 500 large spirit stones, and now it's all gone to waste. Truly, I overestimated the integrity of these merchants. From this day forth, my sect and the Exquisite Treasures Alliance will be irreconcilable. The tale has been taken without authorization. If you see it on Amazon, report the incident. Xianxia clenched his fists. Heartless merchants. If I, Xianxia, ever cross paths with him again, I will definitely take his head. Whoosh! Once again, two gusts of wind swept through. Shijun Tian and Wei Ji looked up at the empty sky, their mouths agape. Shijun Tian exclaimed in shock, I just paid for the spirit stones yesterday and pre-ordered a magic treasure. Why is there no sign of them? Wei Ji gritted his teeth. I, too. I also paid for spirit stones to pre-order a puppet technique. The disciples instantly shrank back in fear. They all sensed the terrifying rage emanating from these nascent soul cultivators. The matter ended there. Not only did the disciples have no clue about what had happened, but even the nascent soul elders were equally confused. The Golden Dragon ship had countless formations inscribed upon it, including sound-blocking formations. If they wanted to sneak away without anyone from the Heavenly Infinite sect noticing, it would be an easy task. Treasure Star. This star was bathed in gold, with luxurious and extravagant buildings sprawled everywhere. It seemed as though the very ocean's surface had been coated with gold leaf. The tallest structure on the star was a massive golden tower that pierced the heavens. This tower was the core of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. In fact, the Exquisite Treasures Alliance did not have a fixed main gate. The many merchant fleets scattered across the stars could be considered small, mobile gates of their own. The towering structure was the center for information exchange for these fleets. Inside the tower, countless cultivators moved up and down, their feet never touching the ground. They were busy calculating the trade conditions across various cultivation stars. Some cultivation stars were embroiled in war, urgently needing pills and talismans. Others were in dire need of rebuilding, requiring vast amounts of spiritual plants and spiritual wood. Some cultivation stars boasted abundant metal mines. Others were rich in rare beasts and precious birds. And still, others. All these pieces of information were compiled within this grand tower, allowing the Exquisite Treasures Alliance's fleets to extract even greater profits. At the heart of the tower, there stood dozens of glowing orbs. Each of these orbs was inscribed with text, representing the various merchant fleets engaged in trade. The larger the fleet, the bigger the orb. And conversely, the smaller the fleet, the smaller the orb. Hey, the orb representing the Golden Dragon fleet is dimming. It's dimming further, it's completely extinguished. Among the busy cultivators of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance, some had noticed the anomaly. The orb that represented the Golden Dragon fleet was fading visibly, its light waning until there was nothing left. Quickly report to the Lord of the Alliance. The cultivators immediately panicked. Moments later, the master of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance, Fu Tinglong, received the news. His brows furrowed in confusion. The Golden Dragon fleet was led by a nascent soul cultivator. The fleet's head merchant seemed to be Jin Dafu. He recalled a bit about this man. Jin Dafu was the second son of Elder Jin Yaozu. After reaching the 6th level of nascent soul, he had set out alone to lead his own merchant fleet. Over 50 years, he had avoided major mishaps and had instead brought back numerous rare treasures for the sect. Sar the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Because of Jin Yaozu's connections, the Golden Dragon ship had been inscribed with numerous attack and defense formations. Even the merchant fleets led by some elders in the deity transformation stage couldn't match the Golden Dragon ship. So why had the Golden Dragon fleet suddenly encountered trouble? While Fu Tinglong was pleased to see this, any issue with the fleet meant the ship had to be retrieved. Fu Tinglong casually waved his hand, and a circular disc appeared in his palm. The disc was filled with countless stars. Every Exquisite Treasures Alliance ship had a small, inconspicuous formation etched onto it. This formation allowed the location of the ship to be tracked. Chapter 330, I have never failed in Divination Plus, turn off reset. Fu Tinglong understood the situation all too well. Wen Ling Tian was a deity transformation cultivator, deeply versed in the art of divination. As long as he was willing to expend some of his lifespan, locating the Golden Dragon ship would be no challenge at all. However, the faction led by Elder Jin Yaozu had always been at odds with him. After much thought, Fu Tinglong decided it was not wise to squander a favor with Wen Ling Tian. Let Jin Yaozu handle the headache himself. With a cold sneer, Fu Tinglong instructed his subordinates to inform Elder Jin Yaozu of the situation. In the boundless starry sea, a fleet of ships was steadily advancing toward a cultivation planet. At the head of the fleet was an enormous ship, far larger than any of the others behind it. This was the ship of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance's Elder Jin Yaozu, the Tianlong ship. At this moment, Jin Yaozu sat cross-legged upon a plush bed. Two graceful female cultivators flanked him, offering the freshest spiritual fruits. Just then, a voice came from outside the door. Master, news from Treasure Star, the Golden Dragon fleet has gone missing. Jin Yaozu froze, abruptly rising from the bed. Come in and speak. A burly middle-aged man entered cautiously. This was Jin Yaozu's eldest disciple, Dong Fengshua. Ignoring the two female cultivators, Dong Fengshua spoke respectfully, Master, the Alliance Lord says that even his boundless star disk cannot detect the whereabouts of the Golden Dragon's ship, and he suggests you handle it yourself. Jin Yaozu clenched his fists. No other information? What about Jin Dafu? What's his status? Dongfang Shua shook his head. We don't know. Jin Yaozu began to pace back and forth, his face darkening. That bastard Fu Tinglong. He's clearly trying to avoid helping me. His boundless star disk can track the location of every ship in the fleet. How could it possibly fail to locate the Golden Dragon ship? Damn him. The more Jin Yaozu thought about it, the angrier he became, convinced that Fu Tinglong was relishing his predicament. Dongfang Shua, ever the cautious disciple, gently offered a suggestion. Master, since you share a bloodline with Jin Dafu, perhaps you can track him through your blood connection. Jin Yaozu suddenly slapped his forehead. That's right. Damn Fu Tinglong. He's made me lose my wits. Dongfang Shua lowered his head, silent. He had long since grown accustomed to his master's frequent lapses in clarity, especially when his emotions ran high. The more agitated Jin Yaozu became, the more disoriented he seemed. But there was no helping it, this was just how his master was. Jin Yaozu immediately squeezed out a drop of his essence blood, forming a hand seal to activate his secret method. The blood swelled up unexpectedly, transforming into a massive blood screen. If all went as expected, this blood screen would reveal the location of Jin Dafu. He had used this method before to search for his lost 16th son and found him with ease. If you find this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. However, this time, the blood screen didn't aid him. The blood screen remained a foggy red, showing nothing at all. Jin Yaozu refused to believe it. He immediately forced out 3 more drops of essence blood, infusing them into the screen. The blood screen grew brighter and more vivid, yet still, there was nothing. Jin Yaozu was dumbfounded. Dongfang Shua was equally stunned. This was a deity transformation cultivator using his essence blood to trace a bloodline heir. How could it not work? Unless someone else, also a deity transformation expert, had used sinister means to obscure the bloodline connection. Jin Yaozu gritted his teeth. Who? Who could it be? Is it one of my rivals in the Exquisite Treasures Alliance? Or someone coveting Jin Dafu's wealth? Dongfang Shua lowered his voice. Master, I know you're anxious, but please calm down. Anyone who could block a bloodline connection must be powerful. I think you could try asking Zhao Tiansong for help. His divination skills are exceptional and almost never fail. If he helps, we'll surely find Jin Dafu's whereabouts. Then, we'll know exactly who did this. If even Zhao Tiansong can't find anything, we may need to ask Wen Ling Tian of the Reincarnation Divine Sect. But his fees are quite high. Jin Yaozu cursed. Zhao Tiansong? That old ghost doesn't have a good relationship with me. If I go to him for divination, I'll be forced to pay through the nose again. Dongfang Shua lowered his head. Master, it's inevitable that we'll need to part with some treasures to find Jin Dafu. Please don't be upset. Jin Yaozu took several deep breaths to calm himself down. Send word. We won't go to Silver Orchid Star. Change course to Reincarnation Star. Yes, Master. Not long after, Reincarnation Star. Zhao Tiansong, the venerable diviner, sat across from Jin Yaozu. Dongfang Shua stood respectfully by the side. Jin Yaozu, growing impatient, asked, Zhao Tiansong, give me a clear answer. Will you help me with the divination and find my son's whereabouts? Zhao Tiansong leisurely sipped his tea and smiled. I can help, but I require a heavenly array colossus. Jin Yaozu's eyes widened in surprise. Heavenly array colossus? Impossible. I only have 3. The heavenly array colossus, much like the Gant Rock puppet, was one of Exquisite Treasures Alliance's unique puppets. The heavenly array colossus could control arrays. Any array with it at the helm would increase its power by more than 30%. Additionally, it had the ability to alter the formation, making it nearly equivalent to a half-formation master. Zhao Tiansong rose from his seat. Then I'm afraid you'll have to leave. Jin Yaozu cursed, a lion's share, eh? I'll never ask for your help again. He stormed towards the hall's entrance, taking one step, then two, then three. Zhao Tiansong, unfazed, simply watched him leave. Then, Jin Yaozu paused and returned, fine, I'll give it to you. Dongfang Shua observed the entire exchange, maintaining an air of detachment. His master, despite leading a major business group, acted more like a territory chief than a savvy merchant. He wasn't good at bargaining. Whenever someone gave him a price, he simply agreed, rarely attempting to negotiate. Search the Nelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhao Tiansong smiled widely and nodded. Each time I perform divination, it costs at least 100 years of my life. My 100 years of life are precious, fellow Taoist Jin, please understand. Jin Yaozu snorted coldly, I'll give you the heavenly array colossus, but my only condition is that you must find my son's whereabouts. Otherwise, I won't compensate for the lost years of your life, and I'll take back the heavenly array colossus. Zhao Tiansong laughed heartily, his confidence unwavering, rest assured. I have never failed in divination. He took out a set of 36 jade slips, each one carefully crafted as part of his latest magic treasure, the 6 divinations technique. It represented the culmination of his life's work in divination. He then requested a drop of Jin Yaozu's essence blood. The blood condensed into threads, merging with the 36 jade slips. With 100 years of my life, I inquire about Jin Dafu's location. Zhao Tiansong slammed the 6 divinations technique onto the table, speaking with great solemnity. The jade slips flew into the air, weaving together a glowing screen. Countless stars spun and shifted. The vast starry sky rippled, changing shape. The image seemed to be gradually becoming clearer. Jin Yaozu and Dongfang Shua both stretched their necks, eager to discover where Jin Dafu might be. But then... crack! It sounded as though a colossal hand, filled with boundless power, had come crashing down from the void. The glowing screen produced by the 6 divinations technique was instantly flattened. Zhao Tiansong's smile froze. Jin Yaozu stared at the now empty inquiry heaven mirror and looked at him, where is my son? Zhao Tiansong. It wasn't until Jin Yaozu stormed off with Dongfang Shua in tow that Tiansong came to his senses. He stood there, lost and disoriented, muttering to himself, how could this be? He had invested countless efforts and spiritual stones, entrusting others to craft the 6 divination slips. Yet 2 of them shattered instantly. The rest of the jade slips were also riddled with cracks. This magical treasure had essentially been ruined. Not only had he failed to obtain the heavenly array colossus, but he had also wasted a century of his lifespan, along with the precious 6 divination slips. He had originally intended to use this treasure to track down He Liang's whereabouts. How could this be? How could this be? True Master Tiansong held, his eyes wide with madness. Tiansong the old wretch is a master of divination, yet he couldn't even find my son's whereabouts. Jin Yaozu muttered darkly. Dongfang Shua lowered his voice, Master, should we perhaps ask Senior Wenling Tian of the Reincarnation Divine Sect for assistance? As long as you can meet his price, he will surely help. Jin Yaozu clenched his teeth, Wenling Tian, he's not like Tiansong the old ghost. Even if he can't find Dafu's whereabouts, there's no chance he'd return what he took from me. He's an astral projection cultivator, I wouldn't dare argue with him. Dongfang Shua sighed, then it is up to you, Master. Dafu's spirit should understand from the heavens. At the mention of his son, Jin Yaozu's eyes reddened. Jin Dafu had been his most beloved son. To lose him in such silence and without a trace, how could he possibly accept it? Let's go. We shall find Wenling Tian. At the Reincarnation Divine Sect's main hall, Sidukong received Jin Yaozu. He cupped his hands in respect and said, Senior Jin, my ancestor has publicly announced that he will no longer perform divination. Senior Jin, you may want to seek someone else. What? Jin Yaozu's face was filled with astonishment. No more divination? You, a powerful astral projection cultivator, whose very life treasure is a divination tool, now claim to stop divining. Who would believe that? Jin Yaozu gritted his teeth. I am willing to offer the method for crafting the heavenly array colossus. Please, senior, grant me this favor. Situ Kong raised an eyebrow. The crafting method for the heavenly array colossus was indeed a priceless treasure. The Exquisite Treasures Alliance had repeatedly insisted that only the puppets themselves could be sold, but the crafting method must never be leaked. The Reincarnation Divine sect had long coveted the heavenly array colossus. To his surprise, Jin Yaozu was willing to trade this method in exchange for one divination from Wenling Tian. Please wait, Senior Jin. I will report to my ancestor. Situ Kong turned and left. Moments later, he returned, smiling. Unauthorized tale usage. If you spot this story on Amazon, report the violation. Senior Jin, my ancestor has said that although he no longer performs divinations, he deeply understands your paternal affection and is willing to make an exception. Jin Yaozu bowed respectfully. Thank you, Senior, for your kindness. He immediately handed over a jade slip with both hands. This contains the method for crafting the heavenly array colossus. Please, do not spread it. Situ Kong smiled. I understand. After a while, a hearty laugh suddenly echoed through the hall. Jin Yaozu, I remember you well. How time flies. You've even reached the deity transformation realm, very impressive. Wenling Tian, with the ethereal aura of a celestial being, appeared before them. Jin Yaozu and Dongfang Shua hurriedly bowed. This was an astral projection cultivator, the ancestor of the Reincarnation Divine sect. With a mere wave, he could obliterate them both. For the sake of your son, you have gone to such lengths. Truly, the bond between father and child is evident. I have always favored those who are deeply devoted in love. Enough, enough. I shall make an exception and help you this once. With a wave of his hand, Wenling Tian summoned the Inquiry Heaven Mirror. The surface of the mirror reflected the boundless starry sky, with countless stars rising and falling in an endless cycle. Dongfang Shua, after just a glance, felt as if he too were sinking into the mirror, floating and sinking among the stars. Jin Yaozu quickly grabbed Dongfang Shua, hissing, "This is a divination treasure, infused with immense fate. You are but a nascent soul cultivator, your cultivation too weak, do not gaze upon it any longer." Dongfang Shua hastily averted his eyes, his heart filled with fear. When Ling Tian spoke calmly, "Your blood." Without hesitation, Jin Yaozu forced out a drop of his essence blood. The blood fell into the Wen Tian mirror of its own accord. In the blink of an eye, it was absorbed, disappearing into the vast sea of stars. With my 100 years of lifespan, I seek the whereabouts of Jin Dafu. When Ling Tian let out a low growl and slammed his palm onto the Inquiry Heaven mirror. The mirror's surface immediately rippled with violent waves, as though a furious ocean raged beneath a storm. Within the storm, the shape of stars slowly began to emerge. Jin Yaozu's face brightened. Indeed, the divination of an astral projection cultivator was far more reliable than that of a deity transformation cultivator. After all, Zhao Tiansong had not seen a single image during his divination. However, when Ling Tian's expression gradually darkened, the stars reflected in the mirror were increasingly unfamiliar, some even beyond his experience. What troubled him further was that the image had not yet stopped. It continued to move forward, unceasing. Finally, the mirror began to churn violently. The entire mirror trembled with intensity. Crack! It was as if an invisible hand had struck from the void, causing the mirror to calm instantly. It returned to its initial stillness. Jin Yaozu's face went pale with confusion. "Senior, what is this?" When Ling Tian's face was ashen, and after a long pause, he spoke in a cold voice, "I cannot find him." Jin Yaozu and Dongfang Shua gaped in shock. An astral projection cultivator couldn't find him? How could that be? Jin Yaozu couldn't contain himself. "Senior, you accepted my heavenly array colossus crafting method. You can't possibly betray your conscience." When Ling Tian's veins bulged, his voice like a thunderclap. I, the ancestor of the reincarnation divine sect, would not casually deceive you. Your son, Jin Dafu, is simply beyond my reach. My lifespan cannot be wasted in vain. Situ, see them out. With a sweep of his sleeve, when Ling Tian summoned a gust of wind so powerful it swept Jin Yaozu and Dongfeng Shua from the hall, tossing them out of the sect. Situ Kong sighed bitterly, offering a wry smile. I suspect your son may have been taken control of by an astral projection cultivator. After all, few can escape the divination methods of our ancestor. Astral projection cultivator? Jin Yaozu racked his brain, unable to fathom how his son, Jin Dafu, could possibly provoke such a powerful figure. Impossible. I must confront Senior and discuss this. Leave. A furious shout echoed from within the hall. The air rippled like the roar of an ancient beast. Search ** the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Jin Yaozu's body broke out in cold sweat, while Dongfeng Shua trembled so violently he nearly fell to his knees. Let's go. Let's go. Jin Yaozu, disheartened, realized he had lost composure. For a deity transformation cultivator to offend an astral projection cultivator, when Ling Tian had not killed him, all because of the precious gift he had offered. Situ Kong was about to return to the hall when another roar rang out. You get out too. Situ Kong, with a bitter smile, turned to leave. When Ling Tian gazed at the now still inquiry heaven mirror, his expression one of deep frustration. For the first time, he felt his divination skills were worthless. I thought that after all these years, my divination would have improved. But it seems I've only regressed. I am growing old. His face fell, and he walked into the darkness of the hall, his shoulders slumping with a sense of melancholy. Chu Xian had no knowledge of the events that transpired between Gold Dragon Ancestor, Zhao Tian, and Wen Ling Tian. He was also unaware that his seemingly innocent actions had inadvertently shattered the Dao hearts of Zhao Tian and Wen Ling Tian. At present, his attention was entirely focused on the cave world, and more specifically, on Lai Xian. It had now been 31 years since the cave world began, and Lai Xian had just turned 60 years old. Over the past few years, Chu Xian's spiritual sense had undergone significant refinement, and his range had expanded greatly. He could now easily perceive most of the fire ant tribe, with clarity and precision. As a result, he could closely monitor Lai Xian's every move. In broad terms, Lai Xian was leveraging the identity of Lai Qing to gain support from the fifth elder of the holy ant tribe. Various resources were continuously funneled into the fire ant tribe. After all, Lai Qing was the grandson of the fifth elder's granddaughter, making him a favored great-grandson. This connection alone had enabled the fire ant tribe to acquire far more resources than neighboring tribes like the flying sky ant tribe and the corrosive ant tribe, much to their envy. With these resources in hand, everything became easier. On the micro level, things were even more intricate, and this was Lai Xian's area of expertise. Numerous strategies were proposed by her and officially decreed through the mouth of Lai Qing. These measures covered all aspects of the tribe's operation. Some of them were universally beneficial, drawing support from both the upper and lower ranks of the tribe, while others directly harmed the interests of certain individuals. Take the issue of resource management, for example. Previously, the insect masters had never been involved in production and had always been supported by the tribe. Over time, they had become disconnected from the lower-ranked members, indulging in luxury while the common folk struggled. This led to ridicule, with some even joking that they lived as though they were untouched by hardship. To ensure the tribe's prosperity, it was necessary to allocate more land to the lower-ranking members, allowing them to cultivate it, raise magical insects, and have room for upward mobility. However, land had to be taken from the families of the insect masters. Would this not directly infringe upon their interests? Lai Yong, Lai Zhao, and the past patriarchs were not blind to such conflicts, but they had no power to change them. However, Lai Xian had the ability to act. For the current patriarch, Lai Qing, was supported by the fifth elder of the Holy Ant tribe. No matter how powerful the families of the Fire Ant tribe were, they dared not defy the Holy Ant tribe. They could only swallow their grievances in silence. In the span of 30 years, the Fire Ant tribe had grown considerably. One could roughly estimate a tribe's strength by the number of insect masters who had undergone specific stages of training over a certain period. Chu Xian could roughly estimate that the overall strength of the Fire Ant tribe had expanded at least threefold over the past 31 years. This was the remarkable achievement of Xianxia in those 30 years. At this moment, Xianxia sat by the pool, leisurely fishing. Beside her was a plate of fruit that resembled grapes. She appeared quite relaxed. Her hair had turned completely silver, and her face had gained many wrinkles. Yet, traces of her youthful beauty could still be seen. Perhaps due to the tragic death of her father, who had succumbed to exhaustion, Xianxia had learned the importance of not overworking. She now refrained from excessive toil and instead focused on setting the larger goals and strategies. As for the finer details, she left them to her subordinates to handle. Stolen from its rightful author, this tale is not meant to be on Amazon. Report any sightings. Her philosophy was simple: trust those you employ, and if you doubt them, don't use them. If one attempted to oversee every minute detail personally, it would eventually lead to burnout, just as her father had experienced. At that moment, a figure approached her. The person was tall, with graying temples, and was none other than Xianxia, Xianxia's maternal uncle. However, the current Xianxia treated her with great respect. "Master," he said respectfully, "as per your instructions, I've anonymously reported the Flying Sky Ant tribe leader's secret meeting with the Mad Spider tribe to the third elder." He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "However, I'm concerned. The evidence is half true, half false. Will the third elder believe it?" Xianxia smiled faintly. The third elder and the fifth elder of the Holy Ant tribe have always been at odds. The Mad Spider tribe is the mortal enemy of the Holy Ant tribe. Once this matter comes to light, the third elder will certainly use it to force the fifth elder to take drastic action against the Flying Sky Ant tribe. This will give us the excuse we need to strike at the Flying Sky Ant tribe. And from this point on, the fifth elder will have no choice but to rely on our Fire Ant tribe for everything. Xianxia nodded in respect. Master's insight is unmatched. Xianxia waved her hand dismissively. Go now. I'm not involved in the internal matters of the Holy Ant tribe. You are one of the fifth elder's sons, so you have the qualifications to participate. If the fifth elder shows any signs of wanting to eradicate the Flying Sky Ant tribe, inform me immediately. Understood, Master. Xianxia replied, bowing respectfully before turning to leave. Xianxia watched his retreating figure, a faint smile playing on her lips. The mind control ant had been implanted in Li Qing's mind, subtly altering his cognition over the years. Even if the mind control ant were to leave his mind now, Li Qing would still unconditionally follow her commands. Search *the novel_fire. At website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Now, she had turned the mind control ant on Xianxia, her uncle. The results were immediate. Xianxia had become her eyes and ears within the Holy Ant tribe, providing her with a steady stream of intelligence. The current scheme to deal with the Flying Sky Ant tribe was merely a small maneuver. With the strength of the Fire Ant tribe, it would be easy to crush the Flying Sky Ant tribe, but they simply lacked a reason to do so. The fabricated evidence, half-truth and half-lie, provided the perfect excuse. This would also force the fifth elder to act against the Flying Sky Ant tribe, severing ties with his own allies and leaving him with no choice but to rely on the Fire Ant tribe. Such a situation would eventually make it easier for her to take control of the Holy Ant tribe. I remember we still owe the Flying Sky Ant tribe quite a number of insect crystals. After so many years of delays, there are still around 70 to 80,000 left. Eliminating the Flying Sky Ant tribe will clear that debt once and for all. A sly glint flashed in Xianxia's bright eyes. In less than 3 days, Xianxia sent back news that the fifth elder had indeed decided to sever ties decisively. Xianxia acted without hesitation. The insect masters of the fire ant tribe, who had been accumulating power for years, charged into the flying sky ant tribe's territory, their battle cries echoing through the air. However, the insect masters adhered strictly to their code. They harmed no women or children. They destroyed no homes. They took no valuables. Faced with such overwhelming strength, the insect masters of the flying sky ant tribe were utterly defeated, retreating step by step. The common tribespeople could only watch as the insect masters of the fire ant tribe stormed into the tribal hall. The flying sky ant tribe's leader, in utter despair, fell to his knees. Li Qing. Spare me, spare my life, he cried. I, the flying sky ant tribe, am willing to merge with the fire ant tribe. I beg you, spare my life. He clung desperately to Li Qing's leg as though it were his only lifeline. But Li Qing said nothing. Instead, he stepped aside, allowing a small figure to emerge from the entrance of the hall. The figure walked slowly, step by step, and soon stood before the leader of the flying sky ant tribe. The leader froze in place, raising his head. Did you ever consider this moment when your flying sky ant tribe coveted our land and repeatedly invaded the fire ant tribe? Xianxia's cold voice pierced through the silence as she glared down at him. The flying sky ant tribe's leader wept bitterly, his tears streaming down his face. I was wrong. I will never do it again. Please, spare me. Xianxia sneered, raising her hand with a swift motion. 2 iron blades were immediately pressed against his neck. Execute this traitor, and use his head to appease the spirit of the 35th patriarch, Wuying, in the heavens. Xianxia roared. Her small body released an unexpectedly powerful voice. Her grandfather, Wuying, had been gravely wounded in battle with the leader of the flying sky ant tribe and had died early as a result. The sound of a sharp crack echoed through the hall. The iron blades fell. Chapter 333, Appointing the Worthy Without Favoritism Plus, Turn Off Reset. In the cave world, another decade passed. Xianxia was now 70 years old. Over these 10 years, she had remained steadfast in executing her strategies. On the one hand, she continued to strengthen the fire ant tribe. On the other, she worked diligently to weaken the holy ant tribe, laying the groundwork for her eventual ascension to its leadership. She knew very well that the current patriarch of the holy ant tribe had little time left to live. It was imperative to swiftly designate a young patriarch. According to the holy ant tribe's tradition, the patriarch and the 5 elders each selected one candidate. Together, these 6 individuals would compete for the position of the young patriarch. The 5th elder had no candidate, and Xianxia, after decades of hard training, had risen to the rank of a top-tier golden insect master. If all went according to plan, she would be one of the 6. However, the holy ant tribe's patriarch held great power. He intended to appoint his young great-grandson as the young patriarch. How could Xianxia turn the situation in her favor? At present, the overall strength of the fire ant tribe had expanded significantly. But even so, it was only on par with the holy ant tribe. If she were to force an attack, the outcome would surely be disastrous. How could she achieve the greatest victory with the least cost? Xianxia furrowed her brows in deep thought. Just then, Xianxia hurried over. Master, important intelligence, he exclaimed. The Great Elder, the 3rd Elder, and the Mad Spider tribe have secretly met and, in the dark, replaced the guardians of the tribe with their own people. Xianxia raised an eyebrow. What was this about? A rebellion? The 3rd Elder, usually the most vocal, had always claimed that he would annihilate the entire Mad Spider tribe. Yet, to her surprise, this bold, brash individual had already betrayed them. Xianxia pondered for a moment. This could be an excellent opportunity. If she played her cards right, she might just be able to secure the position of young patriarch. Ultimately, once the current patriarch passed, she could take control of the holy ant tribe. After thinking for a while, Xianxia issued her command. Pass the orders. The elite insect masters of the fire ant tribe are to immediately set up ambushes at the caves outside the holy ant tribe, awaiting my signal. Also, inform the agents I have placed under the Great Elder and the Third Elder to do the same and wait for my signal before they act together. Xianxia bowed respectfully. Understood. A few days later, the Fifth Elder indeed sent word. The Patriarch's time was short, and a meeting was to be convened to decide the candidate for the young Patriarch. The Patriarch and the 5 Elders would each select one candidate, who would immediately travel to the Holy Ant tribe to compete for the position. The 5th Elder's chosen candidate was Xianxia. Since Xianxia had demonstrated the strength of a golden insect master, no one dared to underestimate her anymore. Moreover, though she was 70, given the lifespan of a golden insect master, she still had many years ahead of her. She was also the 5th Elder's great-granddaughter, which made her the natural choice in both sentiment and reason. The story has been stolen. If detected on Amazon, report the violation. Several more days passed. Xianxia, escorted by the insect masters of the fire ant tribe, arrived at the holy ant tribe's hall. There, she met the other 5 candidates for the young patriarch position. Patriarch Xingwei was sitting in his chair, his body supported by 4 robust insect masters as they carried him into the hall. "What's your name?" "I don't recall seeing you before," he suddenly asked, noticing one of the insect masters guarding the entrance. The insect master appeared flustered but still respectfully responded, "I am Xianxia, newly assigned to guard the hall." Xingwei nodded slightly, not giving it much thought, and entered the hall. "Ahem. Since everyone is here, let's begin," the patriarch said, clearing his throat several times before speaking slowly. He sat in the highest chair, his entire body sunk deep into the soft furs. Though his figure remained tall and his frame still strong, there was an air about him, like a flickering candle on the verge of going out. Xingwei calmly spoke, "As per tradition, each of you will first present your candidate and explain your reasons. Once everyone has spoken, I will make the final decision." He looked around, as though experiencing a brief moment of clarity, before saying solemnly, "In the matter of recommending talent, I will not avoid family ties. The candidate I recommend is my great-grandson. Though he is young, he is naturally gifted, possessing the 4 insect orifices. In the future, he will surely become a platinum insect master. He is fit for the position of young patriarch." After speaking, Xingwei turned his gaze toward the others. "Now, it is your turn." When he said this, he carried the air of an aging lion, though still imposing in presence. The Great Elder spoke calmly, "I recommend my eldest grandson." Xingwei furrowed his brows and turned to the 2nd Elder. "And you?" The 2nd Elder gave a dry chuckle, "I second the Patriarch's recommendation." Xingwei's expression softened slightly as he looked toward the 3rd Elder. The 3rd Elder immediately stood up and addressed Xingwei, "Patriarch, your great-grandson is still too young. Who knows how many more years it will take before he matures? The Holy Ant tribe is surrounded by powerful enemies. We do not have the luxury of time for his growth." Xingwei's brows furrowed deeper. Within the Holy Ant tribe, his authority was unrivaled. This meeting was supposed to be a mere formality. In reality, everyone already knew that his great-grandson was the chosen one for the young patriarch position. Now, there was unexpected resistance? The 3rd Elder spoke loudly, "The position of young patriarch is of paramount importance to the future of our tribe. It cannot be decided by just one person. Moreover, the tribe is not a dictatorship ruled by the patriarch alone. We must select someone capable, someone with experience, to assume the position of young patriarch. I believe the Great Elder's eldest grandson is a suitable candidate." With that, the 3rd Elder returned to his seat. Xingwei furrowed his brows and turned to look at the 4th Elder. The 4th Elder scratched his head, looking hesitant. "Patriarch. I think this matter still requires careful consideration." Xingwei's face darkened, his gaze shifting to the 5th Elder. The 5th Elder forced a polite smile, "I recommend my great-granddaughter, but I do believe what the Patriarch said has merit. Still, I think it's important to discuss this matter more carefully." Xian, listening to this, couldn't help but laugh inwardly. The fifth elder's words sounded like a broken record, repeating the same idea without any substance. Xingwei took a deep breath. Great elder, third elder, are you so determined to oppose me? The third elder stood tall and spoke in a righteous tone. It is not that we oppose, patriarch, but we must think of the tribe's future. Xingwei's face twisted with fury, and he couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. Oh, what a noble stance for the tribe's future. Patriarch's guards, come forth, seize the great elder and third elder. Swish, swish, swish. Immediately, a large group of insect masters appeared, but instead of bowing to Xingwei, they turned and faced the great elder and third elder. The lead golden insect master respectfully addressed them, greetings, great elder, third elder. The great elder calmly responded, the patriarch is old and confused, deceived by treacherous people. Take the patriarch back to rest. The matter of the young patriarch should be discussed later. Search *thenovelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Yes. The lead insect master nodded respectfully. Swish, swish, swish. The insect masters immediately rose, moving towards Xingwei with evident intent to detain him. Xingwei's face drained of color, his chest swelling with fury. These insect masters were strangers to him, he had never seen them before. His suspicions immediately crystallized. The great elder and third elder must have secretly replaced the tribe's guards. These two had been planning this for a long time. You. Xingwei's voice trembled with rage. His anger caused him to cough up blood repeatedly. Although he was a platinum insect master, he was now old and frail, his strength much diminished. His power was no longer on par with a high-ranking golden insect master. At this moment, he couldn't do anything to stop the great elder and third elder. Just as the tension was about to escalate, a voice suddenly rang out. The fire ant tribe has objections. Everyone turned toward the voice, seeing a petite, delicate figure emerge from the shadows. The third elder paused for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. Haha. Fifth elder, is this the person you recommended? She doesn't even bear the Xing surname, he mocked. The great elder's expression remained calm as he spoke. I remember your name, Xian. You do not bear the Xing surname, so you are not one of our holy ant tribe, he continued, his tone filled with disdain. Those who are not of our kin must have different hearts. Seize her and throw her into the tribe's dungeon. As the great elder gave the order, a few insect masters rushed forward to subdue Xian. However, in the blink of an eye, Xian suddenly swung her fist with explosive force. Her petite fist struck with overwhelming power, and in an instant, the insect masters who had tried to seize her were sent flying to the ground. They writhed in pain, clearly unable to continue fighting. The leader of the group, the golden insect master, Zhu Qi, felt his pupils contract in shock. These insect masters, although not golden insect masters, were seasoned silver insect masters, yet they had been effortlessly knocked out by Xian. The great elder and third elder exchanged glances, both surprised. This Xian seems to have some real strength. Seize her, the great elder barked. I'll handle it personally, Zhu Qi sneered as he stepped forward. Zhu Qi was a mid-level golden insect master from the Mad Spider tribe. He had been sent by the tribe's leader to assist the great elder and third elder in their power struggle. Even without calling on his Yao insect, he was confident in his ability to subdue this petite woman with ease. Come here. Zhu Qi roared as his large, rough hands lunged toward her. Xian's lips curled into a faint smile, and instead of retreating, she advanced, delivering another crushing blow with her fist. Zhu Qi let out a derisive laugh. You're seeking death. In the next instant, their fists collided with an explosive crash. Crack. Zhu Qi's arm twisted unnaturally at the impact, his bones clearly shattered as the force of Xian's strike drove through him. Xian then swiftly twisted his arm further, contorting it in a painful direction, causing Zhu Qi to scream out in agony. Unable to withstand the pain, Zhu Qi's body instinctively bent downward to alleviate the intense pressure on his arm. This left his head exposed to Lai Xian's next strike. Die. Lai Xian's eyes gleamed with a cold, lethal light as she raised her elbow high, preparing to strike at the back of Zhu Qi's head. If the blow landed, it would surely kill him. Zhu Qi's pupils dilated in panic, and the instinct for survival took over. He immediately summoned his demon insect, the earth-tough spider. The spider, the size of a young calf, emerged from the ground with a terrifying presence. Its body was a dirty yellow, covered in thick bristles, and its sheer size was enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. The earth-tough spider, one of the most popular demon insects of the mad spider tribe, was known for its immense strength and durable exoskeleton, perfect for withstanding enemy attacks. Seeing the spider, Lai Xian smiled faintly and immediately sprang backward, leaping several feet away to create distance. Unauthorized usage. This narrative is on Amazon without the author's consent. Report any sightings. Spiders. The crowd gasped in shock. In the Holy Ant tribe, insect masters traditionally contracted with ants, but only their mortal enemies, the Mad Spider tribe, were known to form pacts with spiders. This person is an insect master from the Mad Spider tribe, a few insect masters whispered in disbelief. Xingwei slammed his hand onto the armrest, his face contorted with fury. Great Elder, is this your person? You've colluded with the Mad Spider tribe, you're staging a rebellion. The animosity between the Holy Ant tribe and the Mad Spider tribe had existed for generations. In fact, opposing the Mad Spider tribe was considered a political standard in the Holy Ant tribe. For the Great Elder and the Third Elder to seek the Mad Spider tribe's help to seize power, they had been careful to ensure that none of the Mad Spider tribe's insect masters openly summoned their demon insects. But now, with Lai Xian's unexpected interference, their plans had been exposed. With Zhu Qi revealing his affiliation with the Mad Spider tribe, the rebellion of the Great Elder and Third Elder had been confirmed. The Great Elder's face darkened. Since that's the case, then we'll leave no one alive. Kill everyone here, not a single one shall remain. The Second Elder, Fourth Elder, and Fifth Elder all turned pale, quickly summoning their demon insects. But they were old now. Even though they had once held the rank of Golden Insect Master in their youth, their power had significantly waned. Facing the overwhelming force of the Mad Spider tribe's insect masters, how could they hope to withstand? Zhu Qi gritted his teeth, enduring the pain as he slowly rose to his feet. His eyes were fixed on Lai Xian, and he growled through clenched teeth, so be it. With a sweeping motion of his arm, two more spiders appeared beside him. One was the Shadow Spider, known for its stealth and ambush abilities. The other was the Purple Poison Spider, notorious for spitting deadly venom. Filthy woman, I'll tear you apart. Zhu Qi's features twisted with rage. He had never suffered such humiliation, being a mid-tier Golden Insect Master, to have his arm twisted like a ragdoll by a woman, no less one whose physique was nowhere near his own. At that moment, Lai Xian took out a special insect whistle and blew it with a sharp, eerie tone. The strange, low-pitched sound resonated and traveled far. Zhu Qi sneered, trying to call for backup? Don't bother. 70 to 80% of the Holy Ant tribe's insect masters have been dispatched elsewhere. There's no group of insect masters nearby. You're all alone. Kill her. Zhu Qi roared, his voice dripping with venom. The Shadow Spider, Purple Poison Spider, and the Earth-Tough Spider all rushed toward Lai Xian with terrifying speed. Lai Xian smirked. I wouldn't be so sure about that. With a wave of her hand, two massive ants appeared before her. The ant on the left was enormous, its body covered in thick, tough exoskeleton armor. 3 pairs of legs were engulfed in flames, and its powerful jaws were sharp enough to cleave through steel. The ant on the right was slightly smaller, lacking the flames of its counterpart. However, it continuously exhaled thick clouds of black smoke from its mandibles, creating an ominous aura. The ground trembled slightly as the 2 giant ants stood poised, ready to engage in battle. The 2 giant ants, named Flame-Armored Ant and Explosion Ant, were formidable creatures. The former was strong both in defense and in fiery attacks, while the latter could spit high-temperature fireballs that not only burned their target but also exploded on impact. After practicing the fire goo refinement method granted by the mirror, the strength of these two ants had greatly increased. In an instant, Xianxia's giant ants collided with Zhu Qi's demon spiders. Even though it was 2 against 3, the flame-armored ant and explosion ant completely suppressed Zhu Qi's 3 spiders. The flame-armored ant, with its enormous size and thick exoskeleton, blocked the spider's attacks, while the explosion ant remained in the rear, firing explosive bursts of fiery projectiles. Zhu Qi was stunned. 3 against 2, and still getting crushed? He couldn't believe it. Was this going to turn into a full-on team fight? In that moment, realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. Xianxia's rank was clearly not low-tier golden insect master, she was certainly a high-tier golden insect master, stronger than him. Otherwise, there was no way her 2 demon insects would be able to overpower his 3. This woman was terrifying. How much power was she hiding? Grinding his teeth, Zhu Qi snarled, "Everyone, come at her. Attack together, CTH Novel Fire." Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. As his command rang out, 2 more low-tier golden insect masters rushed forward, summoning their demon insects to join the fray. The flame-armored ant and explosion ant were powerful, but facing so many demon insects at once, even they began to show signs of strain. Just then, the sound of shouting and killing echoed from outside. In the blink of an eye, the insect masters Zhu Qi had stationed outside were slaughtered, and a fresh group of insect masters stormed into the tribe's main hall. "Fire Ant Tribe Insect Masters, here to rescue the Holy Ant Tribe," came the loud roar from the newcomers. At the forefront were 2 figures, Xianxia's older brother, Li Tang, and her second brother, Li Song. They had been waiting for the signal. The special insect whistle that Xianxia had blown earlier was the signal. The moment they heard it, they rushed in without hesitation, ready to turn the tide of the battle. Upon seeing Chapter 335, How Could I Covet the Holy Ant Tribe? Plus, turn off reset. Big brother, second brother, leave the rest to you. This one is mine. Xianxia waved her hand decisively. Li Tang and Li Song laughed heartily, charging toward the other insect masters of the mad spider tribe, intent on cutting them down. Once again, the battlefield was reduced to a standoff between Xianxia and Zhu Qi. Zhu Qi swallowed nervously. He knew all too well that he was no match for Xianxia. Let's speak calmly. There is still a chance for cooperation between us. Xianxia scoffed, who would want to cooperate with you? cthnovelfire.net * website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Her mind stirred, and the flame-armored ant and explosive ant advanced, one after the other, launching a ferocious assault. The shadow spider, attempting a sneak attack, was swiftly identified by the flame-armored ant, which bit through its body in a single snap, splitting it in 2. The purple poison spider, spewing venom, was struck by a fireball from the explosive ant, instantly bursting into 17 or 18 pieces. As for the earth-strong spider, its defense was formidable, allowing it to hold on for some time. However, under the relentless onslaught of the flame-armored ant and explosive ant, it could only accumulate more and more wounds. Soon, it let out a blood-curdling screech before collapsing to the ground. Xianxia took a quick step forward, gripping Zhu Qi's throat with one hand and tossing him to the insect masters below, binding him tightly. Zhu Qi has been captured alive. The other insect masters of the mad spider tribe will be spared if they surrender. Xianxia shouted. Her voice echoed throughout the tribe's main hall. Seeing that even someone as skilled as Zhu Qi had fallen into such a state, the morale of the other insect masters plummeted, and one by one, they surrendered. Before long, the chaos was over. The Grand Elder, the Third Elder, Zhu Qi, and others were all tightly bound and taken to the tribe's dungeon. The Fifth Elder stared at Xianxia in shock, as though he was seeing his great-granddaughter in a new light. Clan leader Xingwei, barely managing to rise to his feet, sighed, Xianxia. Thank you for your help. The fire ant tribe is a great benefactor to our holy ant tribe. His great-grandson Xingying, still young, had been so frightened during the chaos that he curled up in a corner, trembling. Now, he let out a loud wail. Xianxia swiftly moved to him, lifting Xingying in her arms and walking toward Xingwei. Upon seeing Xianxia's gesture, Xingwei's smile faltered, and his heart tightened. Xingying, don't cry. The bad guys have all been defeated. Your great-grandfather is fine. Xianxia reached out and wiped away the tears from the corner of Xingying's eyes, her other hand resting on his delicate neck. At first glance, this action seemed harmless, even affectionate. However, to Xingwei, the sight of a golden insect master like Xianxia made it all too easy for her to snap Xingying's neck. The expression on his face immediately darkened. The flames burning in his eyes began to fade, as if life itself was slowly draining away. Xianxia's expression remained calm, her voice polite but carrying an undeniable weight. Tribe leader, aren't we to decide the succession now? After all, this is an important matter for the future of the tribe. She gently wiped away the tears from Xingying's eyes, her smile kind, but there was no mistaking the firmness in her posture. The pressure on the boy's neck was subtle yet unyielding. If you come across this story on Amazon, it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. Xingwei fell silent, his lips sealed in deep contemplation. The second elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder, along with Lai Tang, Lai Song, and other insect masters of the fire ant tribe, all cast their gazes upon him. They waited patiently for the voice of the elderly patriarch, whose very presence seemed to echo the frailty of decaying wood. Xingwei's voice came forth in a hoarse whisper, I. Xingwei, the 89th patriarch of the Holy Ant tribe. In my time as patriarch, my accomplishments have been few, and my mistakes have been many. My life's end is near, and I feel deeply that the tribe cannot survive a day without a leader. Therefore, I have decided to pass the position to Xianxia. Xianxia, however, shook her head gently. Patriarch, how can this be? I do not bear the surname Xing, so how could I inherit the leadership of the Holy Ant tribe? The position of patriarch should rightfully pass to Xingying. Xingwei froze for a moment. A glimmer of confusion filled his murky old eyes. Wasn't it just moments ago that you threatened to seize the power for yourself? Xianxia smiled softly. Xingying is still young. If the patriarch does not mind, I am willing to assist him in growing to maturity. At that time, I will hand over the power and allow Xingying to rule the Holy Ant tribe on his own. Do not worry, patriarch. I have always been an outsider. How could I ever covet the leadership of the Holy Ant tribe? Her tone was filled with an air of sincerity. Though a part of Xingwei felt something was amiss, he could not bring himself to doubt her. After all, she had no reason to deceive a dying man. Gratitude flickered in his eyes as he nodded. There was a mistake before. The position of patriarch shall pass to Xingying. Xianxia has performed a great service in protecting the Holy Ant tribe. Before Xingying turns 16, all matters of the tribe shall be decided by Xianxia, together with the elders. Xingwei struggled to utter these words, and once he finished speaking, the light in his eyes faded rapidly. The 89th patriarch of the Holy Ant tribe, Xingwei, his lifespan exhausted, passed away on the spot. Thus, Xianxia smoothly took control of the Holy Ant tribe. Moreover, because she had foiled the plot of the Mad Spider tribe, saving the patriarch, the young patriarch, and several elders, her contributions were immense. In addition, with the second, fourth, and fifth elders aging rapidly and their powers waning, Xianxia, in the prime of her life and an esteemed golden-rank insect master, swiftly ascended to a position of power, practically becoming the most influential figure under the patriarch. Some believed Xianxia could easily seize the patriarch's position and overthrow the Holy Ant tribe's leadership. Others believed that Xianxia was truly loyal to the tribe, aware that she did not bear the surname Xing and thus was unfit to be patriarch. Still, some speculated that Xianxia was actually from the Mad Spider tribe, and that her actions that day were merely part of a grand scheme played out in collaboration with them. There were countless rumors circulating. Yet, none could have guessed that the vast holy ant tribe was already under Xianxia's control. As for the still immature Xingyin, she would simply use the illusionary ant to subtly alter his perception. He was never part of her true calculations. After the chaos settled, Xianxia, within just 5 years, smoothly broke through to the platinum rank insect master level. With this achievement, her influence in the holy ant tribe grew even more formidable. Such a remarkable person, truly remarkable. Chu Xian had watched nearly the entire process of Xianxia's rise to power within the holy ant tribe. Every step she took had been executed with flawless precision, always staying ahead of everyone else. It was precisely because Xianxia had spent the previous decades secretly accumulating strength that she now possessed overwhelming power. It was because she had woven an immense intelligence network that she was able to learn of the elders, the third elders, and the mad spider tribe's plans in advance. It was because of her possession of the illusionary ant that she didn't need to claim the patriarchal title for herself, but instead could indirectly control the holy ant tribe by manipulating Xingyin. Had it not been for those prior accumulations, Xianxia could never have taken control of the holy ant tribe so effortlessly. Indeed, as the saying goes, opportunity is always reserved for those who are prepared. After becoming a platinum rank insect master, Xianxia no longer needed to shatter the bronze statue to extract the crystal stone. Her mind alone contained the full set of holy ant cultivation techniques. Furthermore, she had ordered the collection of various insect cultivation methods. As a result, Chu Xian had easily acquired a large number of insect cultivation manuals: ants, spiders, mantises, scorpions, poison bees. The continuous supply of these manuals from Xianxia brought immense joy to Chu Xian, causing him to smile uncontrollably. With these cultivation methods in hand, he was certain he would find common ground, allowing him to further enhance the Blood Queen and the Blood Steel Wire. He believed that day was not far off. 3 years later, on Blue Star, Chu Xian gazed at the Blood Queen and the Blood Steel Wire, both in the process of cocooning, and a smile of satisfaction spread across his face. The endless stream of insect cultivation methods provided by the cave world had indeed brought him quite a pleasant surprise. After all, these were the crystallized wisdom of countless insect masters over millennia from an entire world. Wisdom, after all, should never be underestimated. It was as if he were standing on the shoulders of countless others. With such a foundation, if he had not made significant strides, it would truly be a disservice to the myriad realms mirror. Now, with this advancement, both the Blood Queen and the Blood Steel Wire will step into the ranks of the 4th transmutation goo insects. I can't wait to see their new forms. Chu Xian nodded slightly. The Blood Queen was the first to emerge from her cocoon. Her size had not changed much, but the golden patterns covering her body had increased significantly. The more Chu Xian looked at her, the more she resembled a smaller version of the Sunfire Bee Queen. If nothing went wrong, the next time she advanced to the 5th transmutation goo insect level, she would likely fully return to her ancestral bloodline and become the Sunfire Bee Queen. The Blood Queen's brood of blood bees had also been comprehensively enhanced. A few days later, the Steel Wire followed closely, emerging from its cocoon. However, unlike the Blood Queen, who had slowly torn through her cocoon, the Blood Steel Wire violently shattered the blood cocoon and shot out like a black line. If not for Chu Xian's keen eyesight, he might have missed its appearance entirely. However, as soon as it shot out, due to its incredible speed, it instantly pierced through the surrounding walls. It should be noted that Chu Xian's residence on Blue Star had already been heavily modified by his corpse puppets. The walls were incredibly thick, and even the detonation of cluster bombs might not be able to breach them. Yet, the Blood Steel Wire had pierced through them effortlessly. This alone demonstrated the terrifying hardness of the creature. Chu Xian's face lit up with delight. He waved his hand, and the Blood Steel Wire, after crashing through several more walls, finally began to adjust to its new form. It obediently returned to his hand. Upon closer inspection, the Blood Steel Wire had become exceedingly slender. It truly resembled a steel wire. Moreover, its body was incredibly flexible. Given Chu Xian's current physical strength at the 37th level of body refinement, he could not harm it unless he used the Great Extinguishing Thunder Fist. Chu Xian clicked his tongue in amazement. He could tell that the steel wire had now fully evolved into what was once called the mountain steel. This meant that the blood steel wire had successfully reverted to its ancestral form. It was no longer the common, low-limited blood steel wire from before, but an extremely rare mountain steel. The mountain steel, even without symbiosis with a cultivator, could grow naturally in the wild and reach the 5th transmutation goo insect stage. That was comparable to a great cultivator undergoing deity transformation. At that moment, the blood steel wire transmitted a thought to him. Food, food. Hungry. Chu Xian smiled and immediately took out a low-grade magic treasure. There were many cultivators who generously gifted him treasures without expecting anything in return. As a result, his storage bag had accumulated quite a few low-grade and middle-grade magic treasures that he had no use for. As for magic tools, there were even more. Unauthorized usage. This narrative is on Amazon without the author's consent. Report any sightings. The mountain steel, this type of goo insect, did not favor blood food. Instead, it preferred rare minerals, magic treasures, and magic tools. Sure enough, when Chu Xian handed over a low-grade magic treasure, Gongxi pounced on it like a famished man who had just seen meat, immediately devouring it. All Chu Xian could hear were the continuous crack-crack sounds. In the blink of an eye, the once glimmering low-grade magic treasure was covered in holes, as if it had been gnawed by countless insects. Chu Xian smiled slightly. Take your time. No one's going to steal it from you. Only then did it slow down its feeding. Chu Xian rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The current physical strength of the Gongxi was comparable to that of a high-grade magic treasure. In a battle, as long as it took a few bites from the opponent's high-grade magic treasure, it could drastically reduce the magic treasure's power. However, magic treasures used by cultivators were often protected by spiritual qi and divine sense, so this tactic wouldn't be effective in the early stages of a battle. It would only work after some time when the opponent's spiritual qi and divine sense had begun to weaken. In contrast, Chu Xian believed that the steel wire's greatest ability lay in its stealth and assassination capabilities. If aided by the cover of night, it could maximize its assassination potential. Impressive, impressive. My self-defense ability has taken another leap. I continue to improve my strength, after all, to protect myself. Chu Xian sighed, taking a step forward, and returning to Mystic Azure. By the Flying Fish Lake. Chu Xian and Xianxia sat facing each other. As usual, they exchanged insights on the path of poison and goo techniques before beginning their tea brewing. Though the Blood Queen had risen to the 4th transmutation goo insect level and her hidden bees had greatly enhanced, Xianxia's countermeasures were just as numerous. Moreover, it seemed that this person had a natural aptitude for poison techniques, progressing at an incredibly rapid pace. If not for Chu Xian's own proficiency in poisons, it would have been difficult for anyone else to withstand the level of testing Xianxia subjected them to. Elder Xiang, you're well informed. Do you know how the Exquisite Treasures Alliance reacted after Jin Dafu's disappearance? Chu Xian casually tossed a ball of fish food into the lake and asked calmly. Xianxia smiled. Quite a few interesting things have happened recently. Jin Dafu is the son of Jin Yaoyu, the Grand Elder of the Exquisite Treasures Alliance. Jin Yaoyu, in order to find his son, first sought out true Master Tiansong. I heard that in the end, Jin Yaoyu left Zhao Tiansong's cave residence with a grim expression and turned to visit Ling Tian of the reincarnation divine sex ancestors. Chu Xian raised an eyebrow. Oh? Any progress? Xianxia shook his head. I don't know exactly what happened, but from Jin Yaoyu's expression, it's clear that he still hasn't found any trace of Jin Dafu. He probably hasn't even located the Golden Dragon ship. Chu Xian's expression remained unchanged. Jin Dafu had long since become part of the Heavenly Corpse Tower, his soul residing within the sky-shielding umbrella. Of course, they couldn't find him. As for the Golden Dragon ship, it was still parked on Blue Star. Even if someone like Wenling Tian, an astral projection cultivator, were to make a move, how could he cross the vast expanse of the starry sky to locate Blue Star? Xianxia couldn't help but glance at Chu Xian a few more times. At the time, Chu Xian had claimed to possess the ability to hide the Golden Dragon ship. He had been somewhat doubtful then, but hadn't pressed the matter further. Now, however, it seemed that Chu Xian's methods were indeed formidable. Even someone as skilled in divination as Wenling Tian from the Reincarnation Divine sect had likely been unable to locate the Golden Dragon ship. What could possibly shield the location from a cultivator of the Transcendence Realm's divination? It could either be another astral projection cultivator or an extraordinarily unique spiritual treasure. Spiritual treasures, which were above magic treasures, were artifacts reserved for those of the deity transformation realm and the astral projection realm. At this thought, Xianxia's wariness and caution towards Chu Xian grew even stronger. If there was no absolute certainty of being able to kill him, he knew it was best to avoid any confrontation. Otherwise, the one who would end up dead might very well be himself. Chu Xian took a sip of tea, then suddenly spoke. "I heard, Elder Shang, that you entrusted many treasures to Luo Mengzhu of the Heavenly Blood Alliance to deliver to your brother?" Shang Tianjue had recently been designated as a core disciple by the heaven-shaking divine sect. Chu Xian had heard about it from several cultivators of the Heavenly Blood Alliance, and only then did he realize. Xianxia smiled. "My brother is far from capable. As his younger sibling, I couldn't help but want to lend a hand." The two fell silent once more, continuing to drink their tea. After finishing their tea, they stood up, turned, and left. One headed east, the other west. Not even the path they walked or the air they passed through touched each other. CTHNafire.at website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Mystic Azure Star. As usual, Chu Xian wandered inside the gates of his sect. Wherever he passed, disciples bowed respectfully, not daring to show the slightest neglect. It seemed that the heaven-shaking divine sect had gained the upper hand. Cultivators from the Blood River Star and other cultivation planets often came for trade. Currently, cultivators from Blood River Star and the Celestial Devil Star had arrived one after the other, arriving on large flying ships and bringing abundant goods. There were various kinds of blank talisman paper that Mystic Azure Star lacked, as well as rare spiritual plant seeds. These attracted many disciples from the Heavenly Infinite sect to purchase them. The Heavenly Infinite sect was in a period of thriving vitality. However, Chu Xian did not personally go. He merely glanced from a distance, then lost interest. The nascent soul cultivator from the Blood River Star was already met by the disciples of the Heavenly Blood Alliance stationed on the Mystic Azure Star. The cultivators from the Celestial Devil Star were greeted by nascent soul cultivators such as Shijun Tian. As the sect master, Chu Xian had no need to appear for such trivial matters. As for the intelligence he needed, it was delivered to him personally. By the side of the flying fish lake, Chu Xian personally threw in over 1,000 fish fry. These fish, known as listening fish, had the unique ability to record all sounds within their surroundings through the air sacs inside their bodies. They were perfect for surveillance. At that moment, Yuan Zichu hurried over. He presented a jade slip infused with a spiritual sense. "Sect Master, I have compiled the intelligence gathered recently from the cultivators of Blood River Star and Celestial Devil Star. Please examine it." Chu Xian nodded and, with a wave of his hand, drew the jade slip to him and pressed it to his forehead. Recently, Yuan Zichu had been delivering intelligence to him often. This cautious and attentive golden core cultivator understood his needs well. Chu Xian swept through the jade slip with his spiritual sense and quickly finished reviewing the intelligence. He couldn't help but lightly tap the table. Just as he had suspected. After years of conflict, the heaven-shaking divine sect had firmly taken control of the upper hand. The Celestial Sound Star and the Dawn Star, once controlled by the Reincarnation Divine sect, had both fallen under the heaven-shaking divine sect's sway. The cultivators of Blood River Star and Celestial Devil Star had contributed the most during these two battles, which was why they had gained many treasures to offer in return. As for the specifics of the battles in the extraterritorial battlefields, those were beyond Yuan Zichu's ability to investigate. However, there were rumors that the heaven-shaking divine sect had seized a despairing-level extraterritorial battlefield controlled by the reincarnation divine sect and was now advancing on other extraterritorial battlefields. It was said that even the reincarnation divine sect's supreme extraterritorial battlefields had been infiltrated by the heaven-shaking divine sect. The supreme extraterritorial battlefields were more dangerous than the deadly ones and could only be entered by cultivators of the late deity transformation stage. Whether this rumor was true or not remained uncertain. However, what was clear now was that extraterritorial battlefields were perilous. Anyone who wanted to survive would do well to avoid taking risks there. Did you know this text is from a different site? Read the official version to support the creator. Chu Xian, now at the 7th level of Nascent Soul, was in the late stages of Nascent Soul. Logically, he should be preparing for deity transformation, gathering spiritual treasures to prepare for the breakthrough into the deity transformation stage. However, given the situation between the sects and their escalating hostilities, the extraterritorial battlefields were definitely off limits. It would be better to stay in Mystic Azure Star and bide his time. Once the situation reached a definite conclusion, it would not be too late to make a move. However, does the reincarnation divine sect really have no backup at all now? That's hard to believe. It's not the style of a 6th-tier cultivation sect. Chu Xian couldn't help but shake his head. At that moment, a figure appeared in the distance, quickly approaching. It was Jingji, the leader of the Corpse Valley. Chu Xian waved his hand. Yuan Zichu, understanding the signal, immediately bowed and left. Jingji landed and respectfully said, "Greetings, Sect Master." Chu Xian smiled. "Elder Jing, you've been in Corpse Valley for the longest time. Why have you come to see me today?" Jingji was serious as he replied, "The Sect Master must be aware that the sect is recruiting nascent soul cultivators for the war, correct?" Chu Xian nodded. "Of course, I am aware. War required manpower." The heaven-shaking divine sect had already called upon nascent soul cultivators from the lower-tier 5-level cultivation sects 3 times in a row. However, none of these summons were mandatory. Any nascent soul cultivator who responded would be rewarded with various gifts. Wealth always stirred hearts, and generous rewards could bring forth brave souls. Naturally, some cultivators were willing to risk their lives. Even if it wasn't for themselves, they did it for their descendants. However, no nascent soul cultivator from the Heavenly Infinite sect had responded in the first 2 calls. So why was Jingji willing to go this time? Chu Xian asked, "Elder Jing, you didn't go the first 2 times. Why are you willing to go this time?" Jingji smiled lightly. "The sect is now firmly in control. Such an opportunity is rare. I have not much lifespan left. Even if it's not for deity transformation treasures, I must still risk my life for longevity-boosting treasures. I didn't go the first 2 times because I wanted to preserve myself. But this time, it's an opportunity to gain some contributions, so I'm going along for the ride." Chu Xian nodded slightly. It seemed that Jingji, like many others, had realized that the heaven-shaking divine sect was on the winning side. Perhaps, in his view, it was time to fight on the winning team and get some rewards along the way. Chu Xian gave a slight nod. "Go ahead, I approve." Jingji bowed. "Thank you, Sect Master." He then turned and left. Chu Xian watched his retreating figure but didn't speak further. He had always felt that the war between the heaven-shaking divine sect and the reincarnation divine sect wouldn't end so easily. The reincarnation divine sect would likely make a strong counterattack. Would they lure the enemy in and trap them? Or would they strike where the enemy least expected, directly attacking the weak points? Perhaps they might even seek allies or try to have the sect intervene? These were all possibilities that the reincarnation divine sect could pursue. Chu Xian remained calm. It wasn't yet the time to strike. Patience was required for now. Xianxia the Novel Fire. Any *T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. When the time came to take advantage of the situation and strike while the iron was hot, he certainly wouldn't miss such an opportunity. After all, once the reincarnation divine sect fell, their vast collection of cultivation methods, secret techniques, and rare treasures would be lost to the world. It was in his best interest to act decisively, ensuring that their legacies and treasures didn't fall into the hands of others. A year later, Xianxia returned. He was beaming with joy, his face glowing with satisfaction. Clearly, he had gained much during the war. Besides the rewards from the heaven-shaking divine sect, he had also reaped the benefits of killing enemies and seizing treasures in battle. As soon as Xianxia arrived, Shijun Tian, Wei Ji, Lu Ruoshui, Wan Hun, and several newly arrived nascent soul cultivators all gathered around him, eager to hear about his spoils from the war. Xianxia described his experiences with great enthusiasm, making everyone's hearts stir with excitement. It was indeed the time to fight on the winning side. Xianxia laughed heartily. The reincarnation divine sect is already a candle in the wind. Coincidentally, the sect has issued a fourth wave of recruitment. Fellow Taoists, don't miss this opportunity. Chu Xian and Shang Xingchen, who were listening from a distance, exchanged a glance. Shang Xingchen asked, "Sect Master, are you going?" Chu Xian replied, "I'm not going." Shang Xingchen pressed further, "Why not?" Chu Xian smiled and said, "This vast heavenly infinite sect, with hundreds of thousands of disciples waiting to be fed, how could I, as the sect master, abandon them?" Shang Xingchen was speechless. Who is in charge of the heavenly infinite sect? Don't you know in your own heart? Chu Xian glanced at him, "What about you? Are you going?" Shang Xingchen shook his head, "I'm not going. My strength is insufficient. I'd rather not embarrass myself." The two exchanged a smile and fell silent, the matter no longer needing further. Chapter 338, The Tomb of Golden Core Ancestor 1 Wuying Plus, Turn Off Reset. After listening to Xianxia's tale, Shijun Tian, Wei Ji, Lu Ruoshui, Wan Hun, and the others all had their own thoughts. They pondered for several days before finally coming together and approaching Chu Xian. It was Xianxia, Shijun Tian, and Wan Hun. Reporting to the sect master, "The three of us intend to respond to the sect's summons and join the war," Xianxia declared. There was no need for Xianxia to elaborate. He had reaped great rewards last time, and it was only natural that he would want to join again. Shijun Tian and Wan Hun, clearly moved by Xianxia's gains, were eager to share in the spoils as well. Chu Xian said little, simply nodding. "You have my permission." "Thank you, sect master," the three of them respectfully bowed. As they turned to leave, Chu Xian watched their retreating figures with a calm expression. If the reincarnation divine sect truly reached the point of collapse, their participation would undoubtedly bring great rewards. Sar the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, Chu Xian had no intention of involving himself. Even when the enemy was cornered, their desperate struggle might still inflict heavy damage on themselves. If these three went and gained much, it would be a good thing. But there was also the fear that once they departed, none would return. A year passed. Xianxia and the others had not returned, but above the mystic azure sect, a dark cloud of tribulation began to form. It looks like a nascent soul tribulation. Who is attempting to break through to nascent soul? Chu Xian, from a great distance, saw the swirling dark clouds and raised an eyebrow. After Mystic Azure sect had taken over the Feather Transformation Heaven Palace, many cultivators had come to join. Among them were quite a few Golden Core late-stage cultivators. 3 of them were at the 9th layer of Golden Core. Chu Xian could not tell who was about to attempt the nascent soul breakthrough. Speaking of which, Wuying seems to be preparing for his nascent soul breakthrough as well, doesn't he? Chu Xian mused. Not long ago, Wuying had reached the 9th layer of Golden Core and had since secluded himself to adjust his state of mind. It was possible that this tribulation cloud had been drawn by Wuying himself. Not only Chu Xian, but other cultivators of the sect also noticed the towering tribulation clouds. Shang Xingchen, Wei Ji, Lu Ruoshui, and others appeared one after another beside Xian. Wuying smiled. Someone is attempting the nascent soul breakthrough. Not bad, not bad. It seems Mystic Azure sect may soon gain another nascent soul cultivator. Lu Ruoshui gazed at the tribulation clouds with a frown. These clouds are as black as ink, and the thunder is brewing. Something doesn't feel right. Xianxia spoke in a calm tone, the heavier the bloodshed, the darker the tribulation cloud. Xian waved his hand, and a complete tea set appeared on the stone table. Let us drink tea while we watch. The narrative has been stolen. If detected on Amazon, report the infringement. The tribulation clouds in the sky grew darker and heavier. Finally, the first thunderclap struck. Boom! The thunder rumbled down, illuminating an old figure. Xian and the others looked up, their gazes immediately locking onto the figure. It was Wuying. It really is him, Xian mused inwardly. Xianxia glanced at Xian but said nothing. He knew that Wuying had once been Xian's master. In the past, Xianxia had resorted to threats and temptations, hoping to extract details about Xian's past. However, Wuying had been resolute, refusing to reveal a single word. Unable to act against him, Xianxia had no choice but to let Wuying go. Let us see if he can survive the tribulation, Xianxia said calmly. Amid the flash of lightning, Wuying let out a roar. He released all the resentment and fury that had built up over the centuries. Crack! The lightning thundered down. In an instant, the defensive spells around him were obliterated. Before Wuying could catch his breath, the second bolt of thunder followed swiftly. Without hesitation, he summoned 2 defensive magic treasures to shield himself. These had been prepared in advance, consuming nearly all of his savings. Boom! The thunder struck with terrifying force. In an instant, both of the magic treasures shattered into pieces. The remaining power of the lightning raged through his body. In a single moment, Wuying's body turned ashen, scorched black, as if drained of all life. As he gazed up at the third thundercloud that surged in the sky, he felt a mixture of laughter and tears. A demonic cultivator, in the end, was bound to carry too much bloodshed and evil karma. This had made the first 2 lightning strikes even more vicious. The third bolt, however, was beyond his ability to resist. Boom! The third and most terrifying bolt of lightning descended with explosive force. Illuminated by the flash, Wuying plummeted from the sky, crashing to the ground with a thud, lifeless. Xianxia and the others couldn't help but shake their heads. Even for demonic cultivators, there were ways to deceive the heavenly tribulation. However, these methods were rare and came at a steep price. Xian took a sip of tea, his expression unchanged. Today's tea felt especially harsh. Wuying bowed respectfully. Sect Master, I will go collect the corpse and bring it back to the 10,000 Corpse Valley. Xian waved his hand. He was my master. I will bury him personally. Wuying was momentarily stunned. Understood. Xian lightly stepped forward, floating towards the spot where Wuying had fallen. By the time he arrived, many cultivators had gathered. At the forefront were Bai Jinkuan, Yuan Zichu, and Zhu Yuqiao, among others. They looked at the charred corpse with mixed feelings. Yuan Zichu, though, was unperturbed. He had never employed many demonic cultivator techniques. Bai Jinkuan, Fu Peng, and Chao Moran, however, were genuine demonic cultivators. Seeing Wuying's death, they couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy. They couldn't help but wonder if one day, such a sight would befall them as well. Sect Master. Upon seeing Xian, the group respectfully bowed. Xian said nothing. With a wave of his hand, he gathered Wuying's corpse and placed it into his storage. Then, he summoned his flying magic treasure and swiftly headed south. Southern Wilderness, Wu Province. The Southern Wilderness was still under the control of the Southern Wilderness Palace. However, the ruler of the palace had long since changed to Xian. As for Duan Xiao, although he had managed to escape with his life back then, he had been gravely wounded. he had not been seen since. Either he had succumbed to his injuries and died in some lonely corner, or he had chosen to hide his identity, vanish into the mortal world, and live out the remainder of his days in peace. Since this person no longer made an appearance, Chu Xian had no interest in searching for him. Chu Xian arrived at the Extreme Cave. The place had long since turned into ruins. However, the nearby human city, Plain City, was still bustling with activity. Chu Xian's divine sense swept across Pingyuan City as usual. It didn't take long for him to spot a cultivation family. The family members shared some resemblance with Chen Ge, mature beyond their years. It seems Chen Ge survived that great calamity and managed to continue his family's line. But he was just a qi refining cultivator. By now, he must have long since turned to dust. Chu Xian couldn't help but feel a twinge of emotion. It had all started as an idle remark. Yet, it had somehow saved Chen Ji's life. Not far from the Extreme Cave was a towering peak. It was here that Chu Xian had buried Lu Zhenxiong's body and erected a tombstone. He flashed to the spot in an instant. At first, Chu Xian had thought that, given his long absence, the area would be overgrown with weeds. To his surprise, it remained neat and tidy. The tombstone had even been carefully wiped clean. Someone has come to pay their respects? Chu Xian raised an eyebrow but didn't think much of it. He proceeded to bury Wuying beside Lu Zhenxiong and erected a new tombstone. After a moment of thought, he traced words with his finger and engraved them onto the stone. Extreme Cave, Golden Core Ancestor Wuying's Tomb. Disciple Chu Xian. Chapter 339, the last one of Extreme Cave Plus, Turn Off Reset. The inscription on Lu Zhenxiong's tombstone had possessed a certain chaotic, ghostly beauty, much like an ancient script. Chu Xian decided to re-engrave one for him as well. Extreme Cave, Foundation Establishment Disciple Lu Zhenxiong's Tomb. Junior Brother Chu Xian. Chu Xian stood before the two graves, his expression tinged with a touch of melancholy. Cultivating immortality, ultimately, it wasn't about severing one's emotions or desires. Even immortals, after all, must experience feelings and desires. Wuying's failed attempt at breaking through to Nascent soul and his subsequent death had evoked a sense of sorrow in Chu Xian. To claim that he felt nothing would be impossible. Senior brother, now Master has come to join you. Our Extreme Cave lineage, it seems I am the only one left. No, wait, there was also that little junior sister. Suddenly, Chu Xian recalled Li Xiaoman. She was a descendant of the corpse puppet sect, taken in by Wuying as a disciple. Their time together had been brief. After the fall of the Heavenly Seal sect, the Extreme Cave was destroyed, and Li Xiaoman disappeared without a trace. The last time they met, was the last time. At that moment, Chu Xian's divine sense, which was ever expanding, detected the approach of a figure riding a flying artifact. Ah? Chu Xian immediately activated his concealment technique, standing silently at the side. The figure's flying magic tool was nothing exceptional, and it took a while before it finally landed atop the peak. After the figure touched down, Chu Xian swept his divine sense across, identifying the person as a youthful male cultivator with fair skin and a bright smile. His cultivation was at the foundation establishment stage, nearing its later stages. His spiritual qi was solid, though his spiritual root remained unknown. The young man took a jar of wine from his bag and approached Lu Zhenxiong's tomb. But upon noticing the unexpected presence of a second tomb, he was caught off guard. Ah? I come to pay respects every year, but I've never seen two tombs before. He leaned in for a closer look at the tombstone and was stunned. Extreme Cave Golden Core Ancestor Wuying's tomb? Wasn't that the master his mother had mentioned? A mighty golden core cultivator had actually fallen? Disciple Chu Xian. Mother said this was a senior brother. The young man scratched his head, too perplexed to continue thinking further. Uncle Master Lu, I brought you a jar of wine, but this time I can only offer you half of it. The young man casually poured the wine, then walked over to Wuying's tomb, bowing with respect. I, Li Qingshan, pay my respects to Master Ancestor. After a self-deprecating smile, he continued, but it seems the only one left of the Extreme Cave lineage is me. Finishing the remaining half of the wine, Xianxia cast a spell to clear the weeds around the graves, preparing to leave. However, just as he turned around, he was shocked to see a black-clad cultivator standing behind him. This story has been stolen from Royal Road. If you read it on Amazon, please report it. A quick scan revealed that he couldn't detect any trace of qi. Xianxia's expression shifted drastically. He slammed a bag meant for preserving corpses and 4 streaks of black light shot out, forming 4 corpse generals that immediately surrounded him for protection. In a swift motion, Xianxia also summoned 3 defensive magic tools, while clutching a talisman in his hand. His voice was filled with wariness as he growled, "Fellow Daoist, what are you doing sneaking up behind me?" Chu Xian watched him with amusement. This Xianxia was intriguing. Though he was only a Foundation establishment cultivator, he was able to control 4 corpse puppets and 3 magic tools at the same time. This showed that his soul was remarkably strong. And he also had impressive skills in corpse cultivation. The fact that he immediately took defensive measures upon sensing danger only made Chu Xian more intrigued. "Young man, do you know who I am?" Chu Xian asked with a smile. Xianxia's eyes darted around. "Are you a former acquaintance of the Extreme Cave?" Search *the Nelfer.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. While speaking, he subtly began to retreat. "My mother is Li Xiaoman. She told me that only Chu Xian and Su Ming's whereabouts were unknown from the senior brothers of Extreme Cave. Su Ming. Uncle Master Su went to the Ghost Palace and never returned. Chu Xian. Uncle Master Chu suddenly disappeared one day without a trace. Who are you?" Just as Chu Xian was about to speak, Xianxia suddenly activated a talisman and fled like lightning. The 4 corpse puppets immediately charged toward him. Chu Xian chuckled to himself. What a clever kid. Indeed, he had inherited Li Xiaoman's teachings well. In the blink of an eye, Chu Xian reappeared in front of Xianxia. The sudden appearance of this figure startled Xianxia so much that he almost fell off his flying magic tool. "Why you?" Xianxia was dumbstruck. Such a skill could only belong to someone far beyond a Foundation establishment cultivator. Chu Xian reached out and grabbed the collar of his robes, pulling him back to the mountain peak, where Wuying and Lu Zhenxiong's tombs stood. "I am your uncle Master Chu. The last one of Extreme Cave." Chu Xian spoke calmly. Xianxia was struck speechless. "Uncle Master Chu?" Chu Xian gave a soft smile. "Why did you run?" Xianxia awkwardly chuckled. "My mother always told me to be highly cautious, even when meeting old acquaintances from Extreme Cave. Among demonic cultivators, a knife in the back is inevitable. Those from Extreme Cave might use old ties to deceive me and strike when I'm unprepared." Chu Xian couldn't help but laugh softly. Li Xiaoman, Li Xiaoman. Truly, she was the perfect heir to the corpse puppet sect. He casually asked, "How is your mother? What has become of her?" Xianxia pressed down his surprise and responded in a low voice, "The 3rd elder of South Wilderness Palace coveted the treasure my mother possessed, and injured her. She passed away early. I wanted to bury her, but the 3rd elder discovered me. As for her body, I couldn't bring her back. That man turned her into a corpse puppet." At these words, Xianxia clenched his fists tightly. Chu Xian immediately frowned. No matter what, she had once been his junior sister. To think she was turned into a corpse puppet. "Do you want revenge?" Chu Xian suddenly asked. Xianxia froze. "Revenge? But that 3rd elder is a golden core cultivator." Before he could finish, Chu Xian had already grabbed him by the collar and tossed him onto the flying mirror, heading straight for South Wilderness Palace. The southern shores of Myriad Islands Lake. The newly established South Wilderness Palace stood here. To the north lay the vast expanse of Myriad Islands Lake, dotted with countless islands. To the south, the land stretched far, forming the boundless territory of South Wilderness. When Chu Xian arrived above South Wilderness Palace, it immediately alerted a number of cultivators. Who goes there? Do you not know this is the gate of South Wilderness Palace? Golden Core cultivators stationed as sentries immediately ascended into the air, warning. Chu Xian tossed a token into the air. Tell your palace master to come out with the third elder. The Golden Core cultivator glanced at the token and nearly fell from midair. He felt as though he were holding not a token, but a burning hot iron brand. Why yes. I'll go right away. With a whoosh, he sped towards the main hall, using the fastest speed he had ever mustered. The surrounding South Wilderness cultivators were baffled. Who was this person? Why did the second elder appear so frightened? Moments later, the palace master of South Wilderness Palace appeared with the third elder. Ever since Chu Xian had taken control of the Heavenly Infinite sect, he had changed the rules of Mystic Azure. Whenever a nascent soul cultivator appeared in any sect across the Mystic Azure star, they were required to come to the Heavenly Infinite sect within a year. No lower-ranked sect was allowed to keep a nascent soul cultivator. Failure to comply would result in punishment from the Heavenly Infinite sect. Thus, the Palace Master of South Wilderness Palace was merely a Golden Core cultivator. Chapter 340, Human Years Pass in the Blink of an Eye plus, Turn Off Reset. The Palace Master of South Wilderness Palace looked up at Chu Xian, feeling sweat break out all over his body. This was the man who had single-handedly shattered Feathered Transformation Heaven Palace. Why had he suddenly come to South Wilderness Palace? Was it because he had failed in some task and angered him? The South Wilderness Palace Master immediately bowed deeply. Golden Core Elder of Heavenly Infinite Sect, Sun Sherdong, greets the Sect Master. Though he was the Palace Master of South Wilderness Palace, his authority only extended within South Wilderness. Outside this region, his title meant little. His true standing in front of Chu Xian was that of a Golden Core Elder in the Heavenly Infinite Sect. If he encountered other Golden Core cultivators from the eastern, western, or northern regions, he would still present himself as a Golden Core Elder. Beside him, the third Elder of South Wilderness Palace also quickly greeted him. Golden Core Elder Wuying greets Sect Master. Upon seeing Li Qingshan standing next to Chu Xian, an ominous premonition rose in Wuying's heart. This boy was merely a descendant of a fallen sect. What qualifications did he have to stand beside the Sect Master? Before Chu Xian could speak, Wuying, quick on his feet, shouted loudly, Sect Master. I have an urgent matter to report. Sun Sherdong paused for a moment, looking at Wuying in surprise. It was as though he were asking, are you out of your mind? Chu Xian's expression remained unchanged. Speak cthnovelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Wuying pointed at Li Qingshan. This boy has been parading around, falsely claiming to be a descendant of a fallen sect. Last time, he even tricked me. I tried to reason with him, but he wouldn't listen, so I had him driven out. Furthermore, this boy is extremely vicious. He turned his own mother into a corpse puppet and controls her day and night. He must have used sweet words to deceive the Sect Master. Please, Sect Master, do not be fooled by him. Li Qingshan was dumbfounded. You are twisting the truth. It was you who stole my mother's treasure and turned her into a corpse puppet. His training was still insufficient, and facing a master liar like Wuying, he was clearly at a disadvantage. Chu Xian couldn't help but chuckle. What did Wuying take him for? A righteous, justice-driven cultivator? Wuying, it seems you've misunderstood something, Chu Xian said indifferently. I, Chu Xian, have always acted on my own heart, never relying on evidence. Sun Sherdong, I believe South Wilderness Palace could use a powerful corpse general to keep watch. He flicked his finger lightly, sending out a jade slip imbued with divine consciousness. Sun Sherdong was momentarily stunned before his face lit up with joy. He exchanged a meaningful glance with Wuying and then roared, Golden Core cultivator Wuying has defied authority, shown disrespect, and is deserving of death. All Golden Core cultivators of South Wilderness Palace, come with me to slay this traitor. As soon as his words fell, several golden core cultivators shot out from the gates, surrounding Wuying for the kill. Wuying had always been arrogant and domineering, looking down on others. Now, surrounded by several golden core cultivators, his downfall was only a matter of time. Xianxia stared intensely at Wuying. The shadow of the latter, facing the siege of several people, barely had time to let out a furious roar before he was instantly obliterated, his life snuffed out in an instant. A case of content theft. This narrative is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. Showdown respectfully approached Xianxia, holding Wuying's corpse puppet tower in his hands. Xianxia glanced briefly at Xianxia, and Showdown, understanding the unspoken order, handed it to him. Take control of South Wilderness well, Xianxia said calmly. Showdown bowed respectfully. Yes. With a swift motion, Xianxia lifted Xianxia and mounted the flying magic tool, soaring into the sky. Showdown and the other cultivators stood by and shouted in unison, "Farewell to the sect master." At the graveyard of Extreme Cave. Now, you know who I am, don't you? Xianxia said quietly. Xianxia gazed at him in awe. Yes, your uncle Master Chu of Extreme Cave, and also, the sect master of Heavenly Infinite Sect. His heart churned like turbulent waves. He never imagined that Xianxia, who had once been his senior brother, would have become a nascent soul cultivator while his mother had remained at the Foundation establishment stage, even at the time of her death. Xianxia calmly spoke again. Bury your mother. A moment later, beside the graves of Lu Zhenxiong and Wan Wuying, a new tombstone stood. Extreme Cave Foundation Establishment Disciple Li Xiaoman. Disciple Xianxia erected. Are you willing to come with me? Xianxia asked indifferently. Yes. Xianxia responded without hesitation. I won't treat you differently. How far you can grow will depend entirely on your own ability, Xianxia continued, his voice steady. Xianxia will never forget the sect master's kindness. Xianxia added with conviction. Xianxia nodded in approval, then took Xianxia and returned to Central Continent. Heavenly Infinite Sect. Xianxia threw Xianxia into the hands of Yuan Zichu, instructing him to register his name. After that, he no longer paid attention to the boy. Avenging Li Xiaoman was the last thing he could do for a fellow disciple, a final act of brotherly kindness. After all, he had once appreciated Li Xiaoman's temperament and talent. It was just unfortunate that without extraordinary fortune, such people could never make it to the Golden Core stage. Bringing Xianxia to the Heavenly Infinite Sect was the last responsibility he had as a disciple of Extreme Cave. From that moment onward, there would be no more Xianxia from Extreme Cave. Human years pass in the blink of an eye, while the vast heavens see countless tribulations and ashes, Xianxia mused with a sigh. Ultimately, I remain alone, walking the winds and rain, drifting for 1,000 miles. With a soft sigh, Xianxia stepped forward, returning to the blue star. Cave World. This year, Xianxia had reached the age of 101. Under her leadership, both the Holy Ant Tribe and the Fire Ant Tribe were thriving. The relationship between the two tribes was particularly harmonious, akin to two brother tribes. Xianxia still maintained her usual habits. She focused on setting the broad direction for the tribe, leaving the details to others. Most of her time was dedicated to studying the books she had collected. Since taking over the Holy Ant Tribe, Xianxia had strongly advocated for trade, facilitating the movement of merchant caravans between the major tribes. As a result, she had accumulated a large number of books. As she read through them, the words were clearly visible to Xianxia as well, allowing him to understand the cave world in greater detail. Previously, he knew that large tribes were governed by larger nations, but he didn't know how many such nations there were. Now, he knew that the cave world was ruled by three major nations, the Myriad Insects Nation, the Heavenly Cave Nation, and the Flying Dragon Nation. The nation that governed the Holy Ant Tribe was Myriad Insects Nation. In addition, Myriad Insects Nation ruled at least 8 other large tribes, covering an expansive territory. As for the Tianshui Nation and the Flying Dragon Nation, there was little detailed information about them in the books Xianxia had read, but they were undoubtedly as powerful as Myriad Insects Nation. However, it was clear that the three major nations were not at peace with one another. The cultivation method for the Holy Ant Tribe's sacred ants, I've already understood it thoroughly, Xianxia thought to herself. Now, I need more advanced methods for cultivating other types of insects. I wonder what the insect cultivation methods of Myriad Insects Nation are like. I'm quite curious. Chu Xian couldn't help but smile. The most powerful insect masters in the cave world were the Diamond Insect Masters. Only the most exceptional among them could become the titular Insect Masters, earning a unique and prestigious title. These masters were all located in the capital cities of the major nations and their surrounding direct controlled areas. To obtain a diamond-level insect cultivation method, one would need to continue advancing with great effort. Diamond-level insect cultivation method? Xianxia felt the mirror shard tremble. She opened it to find a new line of text displayed within. The weight of the words in the mirror was enough to make her gasp. Xianxia couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Where am I supposed to get a diamond-level insect cultivation method from?